Chapter 760, Entering the Ship. Chapter 760, Entering the Ship. He spoke quickly. However, I know the layout clearly and know where the central location is. Head right. Without any hesitation, Yu Zhong followed by Yi's instructions and ran to the left. Hold it right there, damn humans! Yu Zhong and his group had just run forwards about 200 m when 6 Type 3 flesh-eaters appeared, pouncing towards them with bloodthirsty expressions. The bodies of the Type 3 flesh-eaters were their strongest weapons, hence, they did not bring along any modern firearms. Facing the sudden appearance of 6 Type 3 flesh-eaters, Gong, Chang, Tian, and the rest felt anxious, knowing that these freaks were strong, and should they be held here, more would swarm over soon. Shashi, injure them. Don't kill them. I'm not your subordinate. Don't order me around. Shashi declared coldly, before shooting forward like a shooting star right into the midst of the 6 flesh-eaters, slicing them into halves. Type 4 Divine Warrior. She's a Type 4 Divine Warrior. Yu Zhong actually has 2 Type 4 Divine Warriors as guards, too fearsome. Gong, Chang, Tian, and the rest looked at Shashi with shock and awe. In such a dangerous place, the stronger their forces, the higher the chances of success. Yu Zhong pointed and sent 6 Type 3 puppet runes that entered the foreheads of the Type 3 Divine Warriors. Let's go. Yu Zhong did not stop to wait for the Type 3 flesh-eaters to proclaim their loyalty, quickly leading the rest further in. They could not afford to screw up now or waste time, as Yu Zhong was afraid that the Saint clan might destroy their mainframe or cause the ship to self-destruct. If anything were to happen, they would all lose their lives. After all, if they did not manage to gain this floating fortress, which could be considered a technological marvel even in the Saint clan, they would not have a sliver of hope against a Type 5 Divine Warrior. Yu Zhong knew that while he had 2 treasures of hope in terms of face-to-face combat, he was still a long way off. Gotcha. A number of automatic doors closed the tunnel, sealing their path. Jess immediately activated his ability and pulled the doors apart easily, allowing them to move forward. Type 3 flesh-eaters continued to pour out from various corners of the ship, attacking Yu Zhong and his group. Shashi continued to charge towards the Type 3 flesh-eaters without waiting for Yu Zhong's orders, injuring them heavily. For each and every one that fell, Yu Zhong would quickly summon a Type 3 puppet rune and imprinted them on the flesh-eaters, bringing them under his control. With Shashi taking the lead, all the Type 3 flesh-eaters were swiftly subjugated by Yu Zhong, allowing him to come to the control room for the mainframe easily. Yu Zhong took a look, and his eyes lit up. This must be the brain of the entire ship, right? As long as they gained control of this ship, Yu Zhong would have the capacity to deal with the Saint clan. Otherwise, they could only flee or die. Xiangma Yiming came out from another room, walking slowly while smiling evilly. Impressive. Truly impressive. A measly human like you actually made it here. What a feat. I'm Xiangma Yiming, Type 4 Saint clan member. I admire you a lot. Come be my dog. As long as you obey me, you'll gain riches and can become the leader of any city, and you'll be the ruler of over 100,000 people. How's that sound? Yu Zhong stared at him with a strange look. It's only you here. Xiangma Yiming laughed out lightly. I am more than enough. Overlord Gong, Chang, Tian, I know that you're at most at the Type 3 Divine Warrior level. Just a few of you aren't my match, no matter how many other Type 3 Divine Warriors you might best. Surrender to me, and it's not too late. As long as you hand over the treasures of hope in your possession, I can guarantee all of you will lead decent lives and no longer have to live like rats, worried about your fate. Type 4 Divine Warriors and Type 3 Divine Warriors were truly too far apart in strength. Due to this, Xiangma Yiming dared to face them alone. On one hand, his speed was a factor. On the other, he had confidence in suppressing them. Xiangma Yiming's gaze swept across them when suddenly it landed on Duanmu Sheng, and his voice faltered, Wait, you're Duanmu Sheng. Fuck, you guys have the puppet box. Yu Zhong ordered, Kill him. Shashi, Duanmu Sheng. Both of them immediately shot forward. The 3 Type 4 Divine Warriors engaged in battle, causing loud blasts and their shadows blurred everywhere. Xiangma Yiming was a peak existence of the Type 4 Divine Warrior stage. Against Shashi and Donma Shang, he was still able to fend them off, although it seemed unlikely he could extract himself safely. Gong Chang Tian roared, and instantly, a powerful red-colored Do Chi exuded from his body, enhancing his strength to reach the Type 4 Divine Warrior level. With a step forth, he quickly joined the fray. The moment Gong Chang Tian joined the battle, Xiangma Yiming's outlook became even worse, suffering blows from time to time. Qin and Yin also quickly activated their strength and joined the fray. However, just as they charged in, they were quickly sent flying out by 2 slaps from Xiangma Yiming, causing the wall to be dented as they both spat out blood, almost dying on the spot. This showed the difference in the combat ability. Right now, only Gong Chang Tian had the necessary strength to forcefully engage Xiangma Yiming. Most other Type 3 Divine Warriors would die or become burdens. Yuzhong shot them a glance and made for the control room. Even if he joined in the fray, he could not bring the battle to an end quickly. Xiangma Yiming saw that, and his face turned ashen as he roared out in anger, flashing forward to pounce on him. Damn human, stop right there! Shashi, Duanmu Sheng, and Gong Chang Tian all lashed out at him. He ignored their attacks and charged right at Yuzhong, not daring to let him into the control room. Shashi's claw, as well as the fists of Duanmu Sheng and Gong Chang Tian, blasted Xiangma Yiming's body. His body twisted strangely for a moment, dispersing about 70% of the power, while he spat out a mouth of blood. The remaining 30% of force propelled him forwards closer towards Yuzhong. With a strong sense of death looming, Yuzhong swiftly activated his shadow steps and dark Do Chi, his body flashing as he dodged to one side. At the same time, he sent out a fistful of devil flame towards Xiangma Yiming. Open! In response, Xiangma Yiming roared, and a white light radiated out of his body. It was the radiance of life that he trained. Many of the Saint clan members who were Type 3 and above would usually cultivate the radiance of life, condensing their life force into an energy that protects them. Of course, there was a limit to the usage. If their life force was overdrawn, then their stamina, spirit, and strength would drop drastically for a short period of time. With this radiance of life, it showed Xiangma Yiming's determination to eradicate Yuzhong. With the protection of the radiance of life, he managed to get past the devil flame, reaching out with a vicious claw towards Yuzhong's head. At that instant, Yuzhong's body disintegrated, turning into dust and disappearing from this world. Clone? Illusion? Right at that moment, a void appeared in midair, with 10 sharp bone spikes firing out towards Xiangma Yiming. Due to the sudden attack, if it had been any other Type 3 Divine Warrior, they would definitely have been slain instantly. Petty tricks. Break for me. Xiangma Yiming laughed coldly and brought a fist full of power smashing towards the 10 bone spikes, instantly destroying them. Fucking strong. Yuzhong's heart trembled with shock. He had exerted all his strength, made use of all his skills, and could only watch helplessly as Xiangma Yiming tore through them like paper. He truly experienced the difference between a peak Type 4 Divine Warrior and himself. Yuzhong did not lose hope. Instead, he continued to activate his devil flame, firing them towards Xiangma Yiming. At the same time, Shashi, Duanmu Sheng, and Gong Chang Tian had chased up, using all their might to attack Xiangma Yiming. Of the three, Duanmu Sheng was the strongest, but he could only exhibit his full prowess on the ground. In terms of body flesh, he could not compare with Shashi. Hence, even though the three of them joined hands, they could barely suppress Xiangma Yiming, not killing him. Yuzhong took the chance and broke through the room, immediately pulling out a data cable and connected it to the computer. Bai Yi's eyes started to glaze over in the handheld monitor as data and numbers flashed through her eyes, and the entire ship started to blare out with alarm. Chapter 761, Suppressing Xiangma Yiming. Chapter 761, Suppressing Xiangma Yiming. Stop! Xiangma Yiming roared in anger, forcefully trying to break out of the entrapment of the three others in order to kill Yuzhong. However, Shashi and the rest were all powerful experts in their own right, and he was already heavily injured. He had no way of getting past them, and could only watch as Bai Yi tore through the system. This air fortress was one of the most precious weapons of the Saint clan. In the entire arsenal, they only had about 50 of such aircraft. Every single one of them was the flagship of the Type 5 Saint clan members, representing their might and authority. Once Yuzhong obtained one, Sitolius would definitely not let Xiangma Yiming off. The alarms on the ship rang for an entire minute before it suddenly stopped. After that, the radar systems all withdrew into the ship as a single powerful radar emerged, sending a scan outward. Bai Yi's face on the display also regained her usual expression, revealing a smile to Yuzhong. "It's done, Master. I've completely integrated and gained control of the mainframe." Yuzhong asked, "Is there anything that can do something to the Type 5 Divine Warrior below?" There were many powerful cannons that were able to threaten Type 4 Divine Warriors. However, against the Type 5 Divine Warriors, due to their heightened sense of danger, their speed, such projectiles would not be able to hurt them. Bai Yi replied swiftly, "Making use of all the weapons on this ship, I'm able to force the Type 5 Divine Warrior to retreat, but the probability of killing him is only 7%. The only way to injure him heavily or even kill him would require the ultimate weapon on this ship, the R-32 nuclear bomb." Yuzhong's eyes widened in shock. Nuclear bomb? They actually have a nuclear bomb on this shop? Yuzhong was extremely clear about the destruction a nuclear bomb could cause. Once utilized, the entire blast zone would be a dead region. The speed of a Type 5 Divine Warrior might be terrifying, but it would not be enough to escape a region of at least a 100 li. When Yuzhong had utilized the nuclear bomb back then, it had managed to wipe out 2 intelligent, evolved zombies. However, as a result, he did not dare casually use that weapon again, because while he killed his enemies, it came at a great cost: the pollution of the environment. It severely impacted the land that humans could live. Yuzhong asked, "How many are there?" 5. Bai Yi suddenly spoke up. "Oh yes, Master, there's a huge horde of mutant beasts making their way over here." At that, the main display of the mainframe showed a region a slight distance away, heavily irradiated. A number of strange mutant snakes were slithering out, their heads black as tar, their bodies full of scars. Through her calculations, Bai Yi estimated these strange beasts would reach our location within 3 minutes. Oh yes, there's a large unit of soldiers currently making their way over here. I've used the doors to hold them off, but they'll likely reach within a minute. As she spoke, the image on the screen changed swiftly, showing the various doors shutting, sealing the numerous Type 3 flesh eaters within the corridors. However, under their violent assault, the doors were destroyed, and they continued charging. The design of the ship was to fend off external attacks after all, which could destroy even Type 4 Divine Warriors, but within, the defenses could not withstand even the attacks of Type 3 Divine Warriors. 1 minute. We must vanquish him by then. Yuzhong turned to look at Xiangma Yiming with a chilly light, his body surging with dark do qi. He pushed his speed to the maximum and dashed towards him. Xiangma Yiming was a powerful expert. While he was facing off Shashi and the other two, he was only at a slight disadvantage. If it weren't for his efforts to deal with Yuzhong, he would not have been injured so heavily. Xiangma Yiming stared venomously at Yuzhong and barked, "Humph! Despicable human, you dare steal the great Sitolius' ship. Your offense would not be spared even if you die 100 times. Our people from the Saint clan will arrive shortly. By then, there's only death that awaits you. What a pity, the one who is going to die is you." Yuzhong laughed coldly, arriving in front of Xiangma Yiming, and activated his gravity manipulation, causing a force to weigh down on Xiangma Yiming. While it was not threatening to him, that sudden change in gravity threw him off balance, causing his body to shudder. At that instant, Shashi clawed towards Xiangma Yiming's heart. He quickly sent a fist towards her claws, and his pure strength sent Shashi flying back 5 meters. At the same time, Duanmu Sheng's fist came toward his face together with Gong Chang Tian's fist, both of them hurtling at the speed of sound. Xiangma Yiming roared in a low voice, bringing his arms back at an insane speed, meeting their fists, and the collision forced them back dozens of meters as well. Having forcefully repelled 3 Type 4 Divine Warriors, Xiangma Yiming's was not well off either, as blood trailed down the corner of his mouth. The earlier attempt on Yu Zhong had severely impacted his fighting ability. Duanmu Sheng and Shashi rebounded and flew straight at him, continuing to unleash a torrent of blows. Gong Chang Tian spat out a mouthful of blood, his internal organs obviously injured. He gasped for breath while staying where he was. After all, his strength was only at the Type 3 Divine Warrior level. He had relied on his Doqi to bring himself to the realm of Type 4, but it was not his true strength. His constitution could not match. Duanmu Sheng and Shadi were sent flying once more, when suddenly, Yu Zhong appeared behind Xiangma Yiming noiselessly, his hands wrapped with devil flames as he punched out. Such a blow would be fatal to even Type 4 Divine Warriors once connected. "Fool! I was waiting for you." Xiangma Yiming suddenly turned around, his eyes filled with hatred and sarcasm, his claws slashing towards Yu Zhong's body at the speed of sound. Xiangma Yiming was a peak Type 4 expert, and he had no special abilities, just relying on his pure speed and strength. Among his peers, he was a terrifying existence. Otherwise, it was impossible to fend off the joint attacks from Duanmu Sheng, Shashi, and Gong Chang Tian. A single claw of his surpassed what Yu Zhong could handle. Right at that moment, Yu Zhong's chest burst out with a white light, as a light shield materialized, blocking in front of him. Xiangma Yiming's claw tore through the light shield like it was nothing, continuing towards Yu Zhong's chest without any decrease in speed. Without any hesitation, his claws continued to pierce through the Type 4 Mutant Beast hide, level 5 defense vest, even directly through his body of steel. Xiangma Yiming laughed savagely. "Lowly human, time for your death." Yu Zhong spat out a mouthful of blood, before revealing a forced smile. "No, the one to die is you." At the same moment, a Type 4 puppet rune came out from Yu Zhong's head, imprinting itself onto Xiangma Yiming's forehead. The rune shone brightly, penetrating his forehead. Xiangma Yiming roared out loud in rage, his body channeling his radiance of life, pushing the rune away. "Puppet rune. Too bad, I might not be in my best condition, but such a rune would not be able to control me. Break." The rune shuddered before it disintegrated. If it could not invade the consciousness and soul of the other party, it would crumble apart. Forced to utilize his radiance of life, Xiangma Yiming was weakened yet again. At this time, Yu Zhong's fists wrapped in devil flame pierced through Xiangma Yiming's body, instantly erupting and burning him. The second-order devil flame had been enhanced thrice, its might truly fearsome. Even a Type 4 Divine Warrior might be incinerated quickly. Xiangma Yiming was shocked. His radiance of life burst forth, suppressing then extinguishing the devil flames from his body. Yu Zhong was sent flying back, his chest pouring with blood, and he slammed into a wall, coughing out another mouthful. Xiangma Yiming made use of his radiance of life to knock Yu Zhong back, falling even weaker as he spat out a mouthful of blood and his countenance turned pale. His constitution was weakening rapidly. Shashi's claw arrived silently, piercing his body, digging his heart out. Duanmu Sheng arrived like a specter, sending a violent punch that caused Xiangma Yiming to slam into a wall. Gong Chang Tian charged forward, his fists raining down, causing the Type 4 Divine Warrior's body to contort. "Stop! Gong Chang Tian, don't kill him!" With Yu Zhong's order, Gong Chang Tian stopped somewhat reluctantly. With a point, another Type 4 puppet rune landed on Xiangma Yiming's forehead, penetrating through to his brain. A white light then radiated out from his body, swiftly regenerating from the countless injuries, and soon he stood up and kneeled before Yu Zhong. "Master, I'm your servant Xiangma Yiming. It was the first time Gong Chang Tian witnessed the might of the puppet runes, and his eyes flashed with shock. What a treasure! Chapter 762, Horde of Strange Snakes. Chapter 762, Horde of Strange Snakes. With a loud shatter, the last alloy door broke apart, and a dozen Type 3 flesh-eaters charged in. Yu Zhong pointed at them. Break them. Yes, master. With a glint, Xiangma Yiming charged forwards, his speed pushed to the limit, and he pounced right into the group. Sir Xiangma, what are you doing? No, Sir Xiangma. The Type 3 flesh-eaters that had just charged and were instantly torn in two, screaming in agony and pain. Even though Xiangma Yiming had been gravely injured barely moments ago and forced to utilize his radiance of life, dealing with ordinary Type 3 divine warriors was not an issue. Yu Zhong pointed at them, and many Type 3 puppet runes shot out, imprinting their foreheads, turning them into puppets. He then summoned a number of Type 3 puppet runes, placing them in Xiangma Yiming's hands. Go sniff them all out and make them my puppets. The puppet runes could be handed to the puppets to utilize. Yes, master, he replied respectfully, and immediately dashed out, crushing any flesh-eater and vampire he came across. When he left, Yu Zhong took a deep breath and pulled out a pill made from life-saving grass and sat down in his pool of blood. Sima Bing came up to him, her eyes full of worry. Yu Zhong, your injuries? Gong Chang Tian also came up to him with a complicated gaze, his eyes flashing with a glint. He was an ambitious man and was forced to swear loyalty due to the circumstances. Seeing Yu Zhong so heavily injured now, his blood began to boil with ambition again. A killing intent arose in his heart as he stepped towards Yu Zhong. If I can control the two treasures of hope in his hands, I can replace him. At this moment, Yu Zhong lifted his head and shot him a cold look. Duan Musheng also stepped to his side quietly. Gong Chang Tian felt his heart turn cold, as though doused by a bucket of cold water. His strength might be on par with a Type 4 divine warrior, but against Duan Musheng, he had no hope of victory. Without skipping a beat, he asked Yu Zhong, "Are you all right? I won't die." Yu Zhong responded indifferently, whisking out a can of Type 4 mutant beast meat, and gobbled it up. Only energy could help him recover right now. As he ate the meat, it turned into energy that nourished his body, kicking his regeneration into action. Under everyone's astonished gaze, his large wound quickly stopped bleeding. He pulled out a number of clothes to put on, covering his wound, and walked up to the mainframe like nothing happened. Currently, the screen showed what was going on below in the battles at the various directions. Currently, the 9 Type 4 Divine Warriors and single Type 5 Divine Warrior was exhibiting their power, destroying the numerous RH2S. Even by Yi's control could not help them. The number of RH2S had to be above 200 to form a decent net under by Yi's control to suppress Type 4 Divine Warriors. The RH2S in all the 4 directions did not number more than a 100 each. Thus, even with by Yi's control, it was hard to injure or kill the Type 4 Divine Warriors. As for the Type 5 Divine Warrior, it was impossible to even touch him. About 20 li west of the Resistance headquarters, a large fleet of carrier were preparing to land. Once those heavy carriers got the RH2S within them off, the large fleet of them could force the Type 4 Divine Warriors away. Yi smiled sweetly. Master, the ship is already fully under my control. I can utilize the defense system together with the RH2S below to kill a Type 4 Divine Warrior with 60% success. Do you want me to attack now? Wait a minute. Yu Zhong's eyes brightened as he saw an astonishing scene from the display. Below, the horde of mutant snakes appeared on the battlefield. The monstrous snakes leaped towards the numerous RH2S with their jaws wide open, snapping down and causing the metal frames of the RH2S to be crushed, with countless pieces flying apart. Some of them slithered and coiled around other RH2S, twisting forcefully, crushing the entire robot together with their pilots into a lump. As the firepower of the RH2S were focused on the Type 4 flesh eaters, the attacks of the mutant snakes were too sudden, and the RH-2S could not react. Yu Zhong gazed at them and frowned. Retreat. Do not engage with those freaks any further. Yes. He controlled the RH-2S to quickly make for the distance. Baiana and Wang Bulu, two of the Type 4 Saint clan members, exchanged glances and chased after the fleeing RH-2S. Their speed was too terrifying, quickly chasing up after the RH-2S and eliminating them one by one. Yu Zhong frowned and changed his order. Stop the retreat. Let's just let them all fight it out there. Baiana and Wang Bulu were not zombies without intelligence. Getting them to stay and fight the mutant beasts was very unlikely. Yes. With his order, the RH-2S came to a stop and continued to fire at the two Type 4 Divine Warriors. Even if they could not hurt them, their combined firepower could force them to move constantly, wearing down at the stamina. While the flesh-eaters and vampires were evolved from the zombies and had superhuman stamina, they weren't limitless. As long as they were forced to engage in a high-intensity battle, they would feel tired and their might would plunge. Yu Zhong then ordered coldly, set them to self-destruct. I want those mutant snakes and those two Type 4 flesh-eaters to suffer. The speed of those mutant snakes were frightening as well, quickly chasing up to swallow the RH-2S one by one. Honk, honk, honk. At the moment when one of the mutant snakes was about to swallow one of the RH-2S, loud explosions began to ring everywhere, as the self-destruct mechanism in each and every one of these RH-2S went off, blasting the mutant snakes apart, their blood and flesh splattering everywhere. With their injuries, the entire horde became even more enraged, their speed increasing suddenly. Out of the blue, one of the strange snakes appeared in front of Baiana. Its jaws opened wide as it wanted to snap down viciously at her. Lowly creature, fuck off. Baiana eyed the huge, strange snake and laughed coldly, her right hand slashing in midair, and a transparent psychic blade slashed through it, piercing its Type 3 scales. Its entire body was sliced up in multiple pieces as blood, juice, and parts scattered everywhere. The nuclei in its body also ended up in Baiana's hands. There were many mutant beasts hiding throughout this planet, where some had mutated due to the changes in the world, while others had evolved due to overexposure to radiation. As a Type 4 Divine Warrior, Baiana had exterminated countless Type 3 mutant beasts before, her experience considered abundant when it came to dealing with them. On the other side, Wang Bulu leaped onto a mutant snake's head like a cannon, sending a violent fist pummeling into its head, causing a large hole. He then dropped through it. The mutant snake then struggled, thrashing violently, but before long, Wang Bulu leaped right out, covered in brain juices, while the mutant snake slumped down lifelessly. Baiana and Wang Bulu relied on their own capabilities to slaughter the mutant snakes, their eyes gleaming with excitement. After all, killing and slaughter was in their brutal nature. As the two of them immersed in excitement while killing, all of a sudden, a black, human-like figure appeared in front of Wang Bulu without warning. Being a Type 4 Divine Warrior, he caught sight of the figure in front of him, a human-shaped creature covered entirely in thick snake scales. The strange thing was that it had a snake head and snake tail. The snakehead leader opened its jaws in a flash, elongating to a size larger than its own body, and bit down viciously on Wang Bulu. The countless rows of sharp teeth punctured his body and ripped it into pieces. Chapter 763, The Snake Race. Chapter 763, The Snake Race. Baiana watched as Wang Bulu was torn in pieces by that snakehead creature, and her heart was instantly enveloped with a terrifying chill. She let out a shrill scream and hurriedly retreated toward Sitolius. Wang Bulu was a powerful Type 4 Divine Warrior. In terms of combat, he was even stronger than Baiana by at least 30%. Such a powerful fighter was actually eaten in one bite. It caused Baiana to be extremely fearful. The snake leader gobbled up Wang Bulu in a few bites, and with a flash, it quickly chased after Baiana. Baiana was currently fleeing with a pale face, pushing her limits. She would use her psychic powers to propel herself forward from time to time. Each time the snakehead creature was about to get close, she would channel her ability and force the snake leader away. The speed of this snakehead creature was extremely fast. However, it was always hampered by Baiana's constant usage of her psychic ability. Unfortunately, a scene soon occurred, causing Baiana to despair. In the midst of the gigantic mutant snakes, a number of similar snakehead creatures appeared, rushing towards her. Yu Zhong saw all these from the mainframe display, his heart filled with a chill. So many of those, what in the world are they? The bodies of those snakehead creatures were even stronger than Type 4 flesh eaters. They also had human-like features. Truly, it was strange and frightening. Most humanoid creatures would usually possess intelligence, and enemies like that were the most dangerous for the human race. Baiana continued to charge forth, repelling any snakehead creatures that got too close. After repelling them for 7 or 8 times, she suddenly seemed to have thought of something and began to leap into the air, using her power to help her step up towards the skies. The usage of her psychic abilities was extremely broad, with powerful potential. Although she only had an initial Type 4 Divine Warrior strength, using her power, she was even stronger than most other peak Type 4 Divine Warriors. The snakehead creatures came underneath her, looking at her with cold eyes. Good. What good target? Send me outside of the ship. Yu Zhong looked at Baiana, rising up higher with the support of her ability, and spoke to Bai in excitement. Right this way. One of the alloy doors opened up, revealing a mobile platform. Yu Zhong stepped right in. The mobile platform then shot towards the exterior of the floating fortress through a series of tunnels. The ship had many functions and features, but required the mainframe computer to display its full potential. Without it, the ship was only at best 30% of its normal capacity. When he reached the exterior, Yu Zhong quickly pulled out his electromagnetic gun and took aim at Baiana. His gaze locked on her. His killing intent caused her to feel a sense of dread. She turned to discover Yu Zhong aiming at her, and she instantly felt a chill in her heart. She quickly channeled her power to support herself up by another 6 meters. Yu Zhong's cold gaze was fixed on Baiana as he pulled the trigger, and the electromagnetic beam fired straight for her. This female demon tried her best to avoid by moving up and down, but her usage of the psychic abilities could not compare to her own speed on the ground. After dodging 3 of the shots forcefully, one of them managed to blast her right shoulder into oblivion. She was sent hurtling towards the ground by that beam. Another beam that burst through her head, blasting it apart, killing her instantly. Congratulations, you've gained plus 40 vitality and plus 1 skill point. With Baiana's death, her life force flowed into Yu Zhong through the god and devil imprint, enhancing him once again. With that sudden increase of 40 vitality, his wound on his chest began to heal even faster. Since Baiana was killed, the snakehead creatures quickly rushed over to her corpse and tore it apart, gobbling her up. At the same time, their eyes were filled with a vicious animosity as they stared at Yu Zhong while eating. Yu Zhong stared right back for a while, before commanding, "Go back." The mobile platform then brought Yu Zhong back into the room where the mainframe was held. Those snakehead creatures shrieked out in some strange noise before making their way towards Sitolius. The large horde of mutant snakes soon came into Sitolius's view as they fought to reach him faster. Right now, all around Sitolius lay the destroyed RH-2S and scattered machine parts. Initially, there had been over 90 RH-2S combating him. Now, there was barely a dozen left. Mutant Beasts? A bunch of lowly creatures dare attack me? What trash! Sitolius stared at the newcomers and laughed coldly. He turned his body around and pounced towards the horde of snakes and snake creatures. The moment he charged through their midst, the bone whip in his flew out like a raging dragon, the huge, strange snakes torn instantly rupturing at the point of contact. As the blood mist sprayed, Sitolius walked through it, looking like a demon right out of hell. Huadu was also tangling with the mutant snakes by the side. As a Type 4 divine warrior, dealing with those mutant snakes was not as casual as Sitolius, but it was not a problem for him. As long as he neared one, he would then conjure a huge blade of air to slice the head of the mutant snakes. As Sitolius was slaughtering the mutant snakes, the snakehead creatures suddenly charged out from the horde. At that instant, two of them surrounded Huadu. Huadu had just killed off one of the giant mutant snakes, and his heart had just relaxed at that point when one of the snakehead creatures opened its jaws to bite him. Huadu retreated just a little too late, and his hands were caught in the teeth of the snakehead creature. The other snakehead creature opened its mouth and quickly latched on a Huadu's upper body, and with a loud crunch, his entire top half was bitten off and swallowed. After killing Huadu in a second, the 8 snakehead creatures pounced towards Sitolius. Peak Type 4? All you bastards actually have Peak Type 4 combat ability. Sitolius stared hatefully at those monsters, and the bone whip in his hand lashed out, sending them flying back. If it were just one of them, he could kill it easily. Facing 2 or 8 was not a problem even. However, once the numbers exceeded 10, then his confidence in dealing with them all would start to decrease. If there were more than 20, he would even have to retreat. Lowly? I say you flesh-eaters are the lowly ones. Our snake race will be the masters of this world from now on. Those flesh-eaters there, our snake race is currently in need of talent. Join us and fight for us. I can still let you live. Otherwise, there will only be death for you guys. From a horde of snakes, an icy cold voice sounded out. The snakes parted, forming a path, and from a distance, the numerous snakehead creatures stood with respect in 2 lines. Atop the crown of an enormous golden snake sat a man and woman with human-like features. They had long snake tails, their bodies covered with a layer of silver scales. The pair were extremely good-looking. However, their golden eyes were slits that would send a chill down anyone's spine when looked at. The person who spoke was precisely the beautiful snake woman. Sitolius glanced at them and snorted coldly. Preposterous. Just 2 measly Type 5 snakes want to become the masters of the world? This time, we have barely sent out a small portion of our Saint clan. If we were to go all out, wiping out your pathetic race is as easy as flipping our hands. I advise you to give up and surrender. Hand over 20 Type 4 nuclei, and we can forget about this. Otherwise, in a month's time, your race will be extinct. In this world, the Saint clan was truly the hegemony, with no other powers the slightest bit of threat to them. This led to the arrogance in Sitolius's words. While Sitolius was not a match for the both of the Type 5 snake race experts, based on the might of the Saint clan, it was not impossible to crush the snake race. The snake woman pointed at Sitolius and coldly commanded, Very good. I want to see how you can do that. Kill him, Mangadala. The handsome snake man flashed forward, darting like a specter. Oomph. Do you want to kill me? Go try evolving another 1,000 years. Lowly beast. Sitolius laughed coldly, and with a tap of his feet, he retreated explosively at the speed of sound. He could tell the difference in strength between both sides. He would not sit here idly waiting for his death. As long as he got away alive, it would be enough. Although the mission this time cost him huge losses with his Type 5 Divine Warrior status, it would be settled with an explanation. Chapter 764. Destroying Sitolius. Chapter 764. Destroying Sitolius. The beautiful snake woman seated on the majestic seat laughed coldly. You want to flee? Not so easy. Today will definitely be the day you die. If I want to run, other than a Type 6 expert, no one can stop me. Sitolius burst forth with a Mach 2 speed, seemingly unstoppable. Even the Type 5 Divine Warrior Mangadala from the snake race could not match his speed. All of a sudden, from one corner, a sexy figure flashed past, appearing in front of Sitolius and sent a palm towards him. Sitolius was currently at his maximum limit, and he had no way of dodging. He could only send a fist of his own to meet the attack. With a powerful boom, both fists met with a resounding shockwave. The force sent Sitolius flying back a dozen meters, his blood rushing, while his heart filled with shock. There were two forms of evolution for the Saint clan. One was to evolve a special ability, like Duanmusheng and Baiana. The other favored the simplicity of bodily enhancements, focusing on their strength, agility, and the evolution of their body. Both evolutions had their advantages, allowing different forms of combat. Abilities augmented tactics, while body enhancements could crush any opposition with sheer might. Sitolius's speed could surpass twice that of the sound barrier, and his strength was more than enough to lift an entire house. Even if his body was sliced in two, he could recover quickly. He was not afraid of most agility-based enemies, nor would he be tied down by the majority of the spirit-based attacks. A single fist of his could crush a tank, and yet, even with his perverse constitution, he was actually sent flying. This caused him to be shocked. Taking a look at the person, his eyes went wide as he blurted out, "How is it you? Weren't you over there?" The woman who sent Sitolius flying was precisely that beautiful and alluring snake woman who had just been at her seat seconds ago. The snake woman had a trail of blood at the corner of her mouth. It was evident that this clash with Sitolius also caused her some injuries. Mangadala also took the opportunity to dash towards Sitolius, slashing viciously at him. "A bunch of trash. Let me show you the difference between the Saint clan and you trash." Sitolius laughed coldly and sent a powerful punch towards Mangadala's claws. The snake man's slit eyes flashed coldly, and his body twisted strangely, his claws going around Sitolius's fist before piercing his body. After that, he began to coil his entire body into a long strip, coiling furiously around Sitolius. In that short exchange, without any time to defend, Sitolius was at a disadvantage already. His heart was filled with shock, and he hurried to exert his strength to push Mangadala away. He pushed forcefully, separating Mangadala slowly away from his body. However, there was still some sound from the contact of their bodies. Had Sitolius's body been weaker, he would have already been crushed. Positively terrified by now, Sitolius began to channel his radiance of life to send Mangadala flying. The eyes of the snake woman flashed with a cold glint as two golden beams shot out and landed on his head. When he was swept by the golden beam, the forehead of Sitolius started to turn to stone. Right at this time, his body emitted the bright radiance of life, blocking the golden beam, stopping the petrification effect. At the same time, he was using the radiance of life to counter the golden beam. His body was still being tightened and sounds were emitting. Sitolius would not be afraid of either the alluring snake woman or Mangadala if they were alone. However, facing their joint attacks, he was thrown into a dangerous situation. With his veins bulging, Sitolius's eyes turned bloodshot. "Fuck! I need to give him my all." All of a sudden, a bright, piercing electromagnetic beam shot down from the sky, piercing Sitolius's head, blasting it apart. Both the snake woman and Mangadala leaped back in shock from the sudden attack, lifting their heads together, only to discover Yu Zhong in the airship above, having become the Oriole behind their mantis stalking the cicada. Having killed Sitolius, the massive life force of the Type 5 Divine Warrior entered Yu Zhong's body through the God and Devil imprint. As the enormous amount of life force entered Yu Zhong's body, it flowed in the shape of a mystical rune, strengthening his body immensely. At the same time, as the energy flowed throughout his body, it gathered all the life force nested inside him, purifying them. As all the life force energy gathered together within his sea of knowledge, it began to form into a gold nucleus the size of a rice grain. When the gold nucleus formed, within his sea of notification, all the runes of his skills and abilities began to fly and orbit around the gold nucleus like satellites. Gold lines shot out from the nucleus, connecting to the runes, linking all of them together. The moment the runes were linked together, Yu Zhong was suddenly enlightened on the origins, the cultivation techniques, as well as a much deeper understanding of every single ability, reaching a new level. Congratulations on forming a God-Devil nucleus. You've gained plus 30 in all attributes. Congratulations on gaining 10 skill points. Congratulations, your lifespan has increased to 300 years. Congratulations, all your skills below the second order tier has gained a plus 1 enhancement. Congratulations, your strength has now reached the equivalent of an initial stage type for Divine Warrior. A flurry of information began to resound in Yu Zhong's mind. After killing Sitolius, absorbing his life force through the God and Devil imprint, he managed to form a God-Devil nucleus in one fell swoop. Yu Zhong's power had undergone a heaven-shaking change, and he was finally a Type 4 Divine Warrior. Even his lifespan had broken through to reach 300 years. He quickly recovered from his excitement and did not hesitate in his choice. He quickly spent 3 skill points to push the Devil Flame to its third order stage, spending another 5 to push the Dark Do Chi to its third order stage as well, and the final 4 into his Body of Steel to reach the second order stage. When the Body of Steel reached the second order stage, even high caliber bullets would not be able to pierce Yu Zhong anymore. If he channeled the third order Dark Do Chi, he could even resist the bombardment from missiles. Once he was done, his gaze fixed upon the 2 snake people downstairs, his eyes flashing with a strange glint. Both parties below were Type 5 Divine Warriors. If he could kill them both, although he might not make the jump to a Type 5 Divine Warrior stage, it would definitely still bring him huge benefits. Very quickly, he abandoned that line of thought. Although he had consolidated his foundations as an initial stage Type 4 Divine Warrior, he was still far off from taking on 2 Type 5 Divine Warriors. They could definitely annihilate him easily. How do you do? I'm Yu Zhong, the leader of the human resistance. Pleased to meet you guys. One of the helicopters flew down at the same time his voice sounded from the helicopter. The beautiful snake woman snorted coldly, grabbing a huge boulder of a few tons and flung it toward the helicopter. Yu Zhong, if you want to talk to us, get down from the skies. The snake woman might have powerful strength, but she obviously had not trained in boulder throwing before. The huge rock soared about dozens of meters away from the helicopter, not even brushing the body of it. Yu Zhong chuckled. My apologies, I still think that it's better for both of us to communicate like this. I'm afraid that if I were to be on land, your partner will tear me apart. There were 2 Type 5 Divine Warriors below. The moment he landed, his life would no longer be in his hands. If the snake woman was not in a good mood, he would be eaten in a second. Oomph. The alluring snake woman snorted coldly, her gaze fixed on Yu Zhong coldly. If it were not for the fact that she could not fly, she would have pounced on him and tear him into pieces. Biesna uttered coldly, I'm Biesna, the 5th princess of the glorious snake race. Say what you have to say. Yu Zhong laughed. Your Highness Biesna, the flesh-eaters of this world have too much power. In their saint city, it's rumored that there's a Type 6 Divine Warrior. He's someone that neither of us can handle. I propose to form an alliance, joining forces to deal with them. What do you think? Biesna laughed sarcastically as she looked at him condescendingly. Alliance? Join hands? Measly human, what qualifications do you have to join forces with us? Do you have any Type 5 Divine Warrior? You require the necessary strength to even propose an alliance. Why don't we do it like this? Yu Zhong, I admire you. Bring your people and become our slaves. I can confer you the title of Lord of the human race. In her eyes, Yu Zhong and his subordinates were too weak. They were even defeated by Sitolius. They simply had no bargaining chips to form an alliance. Yu Zhong's expression remained unchanged as he smiled. No, I'm not interested in your snake race. Your Highness, while our human race might be weak now, we have our strengths. This spaceship is something we invented. Your snake race might be strong, but without aerial troops, how are you going to deal with all of the Saint City's forces? If we were to join forces, we can assist you in dealing with the Saint Clan's aerial forces. Chapter 765, Type 6 Giant Snake Aremando. Chapter 765, Type 6 Giant Snake Aremando. Hearing Yu Zhong's words, Biesna immediately sunk into her thoughts. The snake race was one of the newer mutant species that evolved, possessing terrifying fleshy power. However, they lacked weaponry and technology. Aerial combat was their weakest point. The moment the Saint clan employed any aerial technology, they could only face it helplessly. The snake race had some influence around these parts due to their strength, but if they wanted to face the Saint clan, it was still far from enough. As she was still thinking, Yuzhong waved his hands, and a seemingly endless number of cannons emerged from the side of the spacecraft, firing madly at a building in the ruins. Under the barrage of bullets and cannons, the entire building crumbled and came crashing down, turning into a pile of rubble. Biesna looked at the rubble, and her pupils narrowed. She could see for herself the destructive might of the airship in the skies. If the floating fortress was to unleash all it had, even a Type 4 Divine Warrior would be killed. Biesna was a powerful Type 5 Divine Warrior, but she could not fly. If faced with such an aerial assault, even she would be forced to flee. She fell silent before saying, "It's not that an alliance is impossible, but your strength is too weak. When you have a Type 5 Divine Warrior, come talk to us then." The snake race valued the strong. They simply did not hold the human race in their eyes. Although they knew that it was beneficial to be in an alliance, they would not do so. Even if the Saint Clan City's airships were to arrive, they would not be worried. After all, they could slither and hide in their underground hideouts. This was more than enough to deal with the harassment from the Saint Clan. Since this is the case, let us meet again in the future. I hope we can cooperate then. Yuzhong replied a little wistfully before returning to the floating fortress. The fortress then flew towards the distance. The rest of the fleet, helicopters, and RH-2S also silently left. On the ground, Biesna watched Yuzhong and his subordinates leave, waving her jade-like hands, causing Sitolius's corpse to be dragged towards her hand. "Let's go." With a single order, the horde of mutant snakes immediately slithered towards the depths of the ruins. As they entered the ruins, Biesna quickly entered a deep and dark tunnel. "Little sis Biesna, have you dealt with all the intruders?" Deep within that underground hole, there was a great beauty of about 60% resemblance to Biesna. Behind her, there were 20 snakehead creatures guarding her. Biesna caught sight of the great beauty approaching and replied blandly, "Sis Annie, they have been dealt with. They're experts from the Saint clan." Annie's eyes brightened as she smiled out with an alluring charm. "Oh, the Flesh-Eater clan? Such a huge movement. There must have been a Type 5 Divine Warrior among them, right? Let me see his corpse." Biesna immediately rejected. "Sis Annie, no." This beauty in front of Biesna was the third Princess Annie. Although she was incredibly beautiful, she was also a terrifying Type 5 Divine Warrior. To them, to be able to consume the corpse of a Type 5 Divine Warrior would push their personal might up a couple of notches, helping them to evolve further. As long as any biological life forms were to attain intelligence, they would start to develop tiers and fight for the sake of power. There were a total of 9 Type 5 Divine Warriors of the snake race, and they were all constantly fighting for power, and their relationship with one another was not good. Annie then put on a pitiful expression, as though she was a wounded animal. "Biesna, do you not trust your sister?" Biesna replied coldly, "That's right. Sis Annie, the moment you see a corpse of a Type 5 Divine Warrior, you will swallow it immediately." Annie laughed lightly and was about to say something when suddenly the earth trembled beneath them, and her face changed. "Father is summoning us." "And," Biesna replied, and quickly brought her subordinates deeper into the caves. Deep within the ground, there was a large space of about 200 m wide. Over 200 snakehead creatures stood solemnly, every single one of them a Type 4 Divine Warrior. At the forefront of the area, 9 snake people waited respectfully, the women beautiful, the men handsome. These experts were all looking forward with reverence toward the being with 6 heads. The aura of the being was extremely oppressive, every single head at least a few dozen meters tall. This incredibly gigantic behemoth could almost be considered a divine being if it appeared on the pre-apocalypse Earth, receiving the prayers and worship of humans. This huge snake was the single progenitor of the entire snake race, with the strength of a Type 6 divine warrior, Aremando. Biesna, Annie, and the rest of the Type 5 snake people were all his descendants. He was the true overlord. Biesna, who was the invader this time? On the square, Aremando's voice boomed out like thunder, causing the entire square to shake. Biesna kneeled in respect and took out Sitolius's corpse, placing on the ground. Father, the invaders this time were from the Saint Clan City. They had come to wipe out the human race. Their deployment this time consisted of a Type 5 divine warrior, Sitolius. He had already been killed by me. This is his corpse. The six-head snake opened his mouth and sucked in the corpse into his mouth. Aremando's voice then boomed out once more. Not right. This corpse's life force had already been absorbed by more than half. No longer the vibrant size of a Type 5 divine warrior. This sort of feeling, it feels like it had been absorbed by the god and devil imprint. A human with the god and devil imprint has finally appeared. Finally, after waiting centuries, a person with the god and devil imprint has finally appeared. Who is it? Who is that human? Aremando became extremely excited as he muttered to himself and grabbed Biesna towards himself with a gust of wind. Tell me, who was the human who killed Sitolius? If you don't speak the truth, I will kill you directly. As a mutant snake with a vicious and savage personality, throughout his evolution and exposure to radiation, it only served to increase his violent outbursts and terrifying nature. Even if Biesna was his own daughter, he did not have much familial love for her. The moment he got excited, his enormous body started to twitch and the entire square rocked, causing fear to arise in everybody present. Biesna suppressed the fear in her heart, solemnly replying, "It was a man called Yuzhong. Yuzhong! Yuzhong! I want to see him. Biesna, Annie, Mangadala, Casey, the four of you shall go catch Yuzhong for me. Alive if possible. If you can't capture him alive, I want his intact corpse. Lie if you have to, do whatever you have to, get him in front of me." Aremando's roar resounded throughout the entire space. Yes, all the snake people did not dare to go against Aremando's orders. A look of regret flashed in Biesna's eyes. Damn it, I should have agreed to his alliance proposal. Yuzhong did not know that he had caused such a huge commotion in the snake race, as he continued to gather all the scattered resistance members before leaving the ruins. Since he knew that the masters of the ruins were the snake race, he did not dare set up the headquarters here. Otherwise, if the snake race were to feel like it, they could easily wipe them out as well. Saint City was situated at the center of this world, a large city occupying about 270,000 square kilometers. It was the largest region with the cleanest land, fresh air, lush greenery, clear water, not a hint of radiation at all. Throughout the entire Saint City, there were many tall skyscrapers with a hint of a modern touch, and men and women smiling on the streets. The entire city was like heaven compared to the rest of the world. One was the epitome of clean and green living with a high quality of life, while the other was trash, ruins, and backward. Saint City was the capital of the Saint Clan, harboring about 5 million Saint Clan members and 50 million humans. Most of the Type 4 and Type 5 existences of the Saint Clan chose to stay here, forming the most powerful force of Saint Clan City. At the center of the city, there was a lavish tower that seemed to come right out of a fiction movie, built entirely with alloy, its surface glaringly white. This was known as the White Tower in Saint City and was the living quarters of the highest echelons of the Saint Clan. On this day, there was a sudden ringing of a knell. That was the knell. Did a Type 5 Saint Clan member fall? Inside a room, a naked blonde man sat up, his face drained of color. He released the two girls beside him, their necks with bite marks. He then disappeared from the room, moving towards the White Tower. That was the knell. A red-haired beauty was currently carrying heavy weights training within a gravity room, her forehead and body slick with perspiration. Her eyes flashed with a strange glint when she heard the kneel, and with a wave of her hands, the weights came off, and she quickly left the gravity room, making her way towards the White Tower. Many idle St. Clan members who were in the middle of their break moved out at the same time towards the White Tower. Chapter 766, Saint's City. Chapter 766, Saint's City. Inside the White Tower, within a magnificent, sacred-looking court, there were 2 white seats set side by side, where a young man and woman sat. Their looks were exceptional, and they had a terrifying aura to them. These 2 youngsters were the peak overlords of the entire Saint race, sitting above millions of the rest of the people, both of them possessing Type 5 Divine Warrior strength. These life forms that evolved from the zombies over thousands of years ago could live a long time without a hint of the years that had passed them by. Most of them were the survivors of the Great War between the humans and zombies. One blonde, handsome, young man caught sight of another man with black hair and slightly yellow skin and greeted, "Hi, Gumu, where have you been all this time? I haven't had the chance to go on a hunting party with you in forever." The black-haired man had his locks in a braid, with a glass of fresh virgin blood in his hands, as he laughed. "Ventus, you always hunt those weak little girls. That's no fun at all. I'm now currently hunting human mercenaries. They have plenty of battle experience, and it's a lot hard to kill them. Now, that's what I call a thrilling hunt." These evolved zombies were extremely brutal and bloodthirsty by nature. Killing and combat were in their blood. Even Yin Shuang under Yu Zhong was of a similar existence, numb to killing and quick to violent outbursts. If it wasn't for Yu Zhong's control over her, this girl from the mutant-infected womb would have been one of the deadliest killing machines back on Earth. To these Saint Clan members, humans were equivalent to pigs and dogs. This was a common perception. To them, killing humans posed no difference from killing chickens and livestock. Sick perverts. Just as Ventus and Gumu were in discussion, the cold voice of a woman sounded. Gumu turned towards the voice, noticing a red-haired beauty dressed in combat uniform looking at them coldly. Gumu's eyes brightened as he laughed. "So it's you, Winnie. How has your hunting of Type 5 Mutant Beasts gone? When can we go hunt them together?" Winnie was a peak stage Type 5 Divine Warrior. Together with her extremely good looks, she was the goddess of many Saint Clan members. Even among the other experts, there were many who were chasing after her. Gumu was one of them. After all, Winnie was on the same level as the 4 Saint Kings of the Saint Clan. She was one of those with the highest potential to break through to the next stage, reaching the terrifying level of a Type 6 Divine Warrior. If it wasn't for her attitude towards the humans, she would have long been conferred the title of 5th Saint King. "No need. I'm not interested in teaming up with perverts." She coldly rejected him before staring straight at Ventus. "I know you're currently collecting young human girls for a hunting party. Hand them over." Ventus's expression turned furious as he sipped some blood, coldly retorting, "Based on what? Winnie, you're of the same rank as me. Not a Saint King, nor the great Saint Emperor or Empress. Why the fuck should I hand those girls over to you? They're my private property." Winnie's gaze turned incredibly dangerous as she threatened, "Based on the fact that my fist is bigger than yours. If you don't hand them over, I'll challenge you constantly." There was a combat challenge within the Saint Clan. Any experts of the same tier could issue a challenge, without any means to back out. If the person who was challenged turned it down, he or she would be looked down upon. If Ventus were to be constantly challenged by Winnie, and if he did not accept, his standing among the rest of the upper echelon would plunge. Yet, if he accepted, he would likely be beaten and pummeled. Regardless, it would be a loss of face to him. In comparison, those human girls were not worth much. Hearing her threat, Ventus's countenance turned green as he shot back coldly. "Winnie, for those lowly humans, you're really going against me." Winnie continued forcefully, "That's right." Gumu wore a smile as he tried to mediate. "Forget it. Ventus, Let me purchase those girls from you for a 100 type 3 crystal horns. How about that? Venus's expression turned slightly better when he heard that. Fine. Gumu then chuckled. Winnie, since you like them so much, let me gift those human girls to you. Don't keep picking on Ventus. After all, we're the same race, and we're survivors from that sacred war so many years ago. It's not worth falling out over these humans. Winnie replied indifferently with an impassive face. The Saint clan were life forms evolved from zombies after all, and many of them had the habit of eating humans. Winnie knew this. Although she hated it, she could not change everyone's nature. However, she hated seeing them discussing it so blatantly in front of her and despised the very nature of the hunting party activity. Winnie was still a life form descended from the zombies, and her personality was brutal and bloodthirsty. However, what she liked most was to hunt her enemies, powerful mutants and mutant beasts, not slaughtering those who were weak just for the fun of it. Her existence among the Saint clan was a special case. It was similar to being a vegan among other humans. As the many upper echelons continued in their own discussion, everyone suddenly settled down. 4 Saint clan experts swooped in, their silver capes fluttering in the wind, seating themselves on the 4 gold seats slightly higher than everyone else in the room. All of them looked towards the 4 of them with a gaze of respect. These 3 men and 1 woman were the highest authority, second only to the Saint Emperor and Empress, the 4 Saint Kings. They were peak-level type 5 divine warriors and were the commanders in the previous sacred war between the humans and the zombies. Before the Saint Emperor and Empress were born, they were already peak-level experts. One of the 4, a blond man with a muscular physique and extremely good looks, spoke out softly, but his voice traveled. I've gathered everyone to announce something grave. Sitolius has died in battle. Sitolius is dead. How did he die? Who killed him? Saint King Wayland. How did Sitolius die? A number of the Saint clan members began to break out in a discussion. They had all heard the knell and knew that one of their type 5 brethren had fallen. Even then, they were still extremely shocked. In this world, type 4 divine warriors were powerful existences. Few people could take them on. As for the type 5 divine warriors, they were practically invincible. Even other life forms of similar levels would find it hard to defeat them or even kill them. The type 6 experts had stopped appearing due to some strange reason unknown to everyone. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for a type 5 divine warrior to fall. In the centuries before, the total number of deaths of the type 5 divine warriors had only been 5. Saint King Wayland spoke. Friday, who had managed to flee back, gave his report. The one who killed Sitolius was the leader of the humans, Yuzhong. He has gained the treasure of hope, Super AO, and any electronic device would be controlled easily by him. When they heard his words, everyone's expression turned grave. This Saint clan-led world was extremely advanced in technology, and every weapon and equipment they had was hard-fitted with some form of computer. If they were to go against the treasure of hope, not only would these machines be of no use to them, instead, they would become a threat. Saint King Wayland continued, based on our newest intelligence, this human is the leader of the China faction back on their world called Earth. Since he can come to our world, it's likely that he possesses the God and Devil imprint, which puts him as a powerful threat to us. The God and Devil imprint. My goodness, we cannot let him off. The moment they heard that Yuzhong had the God and Devil imprint, their faces all fell. After all, they had obtained victory over the humans over centuries ago, and at that time, the human leader was also someone who had the God and Devil imprint. He was incredibly tough to deal with. Although they had obtained victory in the end, they had suffered numerous casualties on the battlefield. Anyone with the God and Devil imprint was a huge threat. At the same time, humans with the God and Devil imprint represented a chance for a breakthrough, helping them to evolve to the next stage. Both sides had an interchangeable predator and prey relationship, either not letting the other off when coming into contact. Saint King Wayland then spoke. Very good. Let me announce then, all of the Saint clan is to prepare for battle. Battle Protocol 23 is now in effect. Battle Protocol 23 is in effect. Awesome. Ha ha ha. This is great. I can finally enjoy myself. The moment those words were uttered, almost every Type 5 Saint Clan member revealed a sadistic and excited grin. Only Winnie had a dark look. However, she could not change their decisions. Although she pitied the humans, she was still from the Saint Clan. Winnie sighed, "Forget it. I'll just try my best." Inside the deep parts of the ancient ruins, the barren place where clean water flowed had now become the human base. Many structures were building up, and due to their close proximity to water, there was a chance to grow agriculture, and the people were thriving. Many of them wore smiles on their faces. Chapter 767, Returning to Earth. Chapter 767, Returning to Earth. In this region with water, there was no radiation nor any immediate threats. At the same time, with the rules and laws that Yuzhong had laid down, there was finally some semblance of security in society, bringing an end to lawless behaviors and crime. Within the community, there were no more people who went unpunished if they killed. There was no more rape, robbery, or burglary. Everyone's private belongings were protected under the system that Yuzhong had set up. The people here started to have renewed hope about the future. Sima Bing was currently walking around, taking in the surroundings. Everywhere she went, she would see a hustle and bustle of activity, with people being busy with their own responsibilities, their eyes filled with excitement. She took in all these, and her eyes flashed with a strange glint. This Yuzhong truly is capable, not some slaughtering oaf. With everyone carrying out their duties, abiding by the rules and laws, Sima Bing could fully appreciate the sense of peace and vitality here. Just having a place with laws and a form of society in this world was actually remarkable. After all, while the technology of this planet far surpassed Earth, the humans here were life forms of the lowest caste and had no education. Many of the mercenaries were youths who had handled their first weapons at the age of 11 or 12. Many of them could even disassemble them with their eyes closed. However, simple mathematics and logic would be beyond their heads. It was hard for them to grasp. Furthermore, the situation in most of the cities that were controlled by the Saint Clan was chaotic. Without any security, only the inner citizens or regions where the Saint Clan resided and would have a system running. To many citizens, such places of law and order were simply heaven-like. In their own hometowns, many of them would be constantly fearful of being dragged away to be raped or even end up as food for the Saint Clan. They did not even have the capacity to worry about their own belongings. That was why they were all the more appreciative of this bit of paradise. Many of them were grateful to Yuzhong. Having laid down the rules and plans, Yuzhong's standing within this base reached a high level. Adding on to the allure of the prophecy, Yuzhong became even more mystifying and grand in the eyes of the people. Sima Bing came up to two soldiers standing guard in front of a structure and asked, "Where's leader?" One of the soldiers replied, "Chief Sima, the leader is over the training grounds." Sima Bing then turned and made her way towards the training grounds swiftly. She arrived not long after. The training ground was a vast expanse of ruins. The natural terrain and complicated structure of the various dilapidated buildings made it easier for Yuzhong to conduct his rigorous training. At one side, hundreds of soldiers were currently going through a series of training, including off-road tactics, push-ups, scaling of high-rise buildings. 20 RH-2S were engaged in intense battles in the middle of the ruins. Bai could control multiple RH-2S to even thousands of them, but there was a disadvantage. If subjected to a large-scale jamming attempt or interference, it would be hard for Bai to control those robots smoothly. Hence, it was important for the pilots in control to be well-versed. Furthermore, Yuzhong was well aware of a fact that while Bai might be a super AI, it was not improbable for the enemy to have their own super AI as well. If he were to just rely on her for everything, he might have to pay a painful price in the future. Sima Bing observed the entire place and discovered Yuzhong on a hilltop after a while. Currently, he was sitting with Floxinia, Xiangma, Yiming, Duanmu Sheng and Qi Qinger. His eyes were both shut, his right hand releasing a golden radiance. Sima Bing hurried over. Floxenia took one look at her and immediately barked out coldly. Brother Yuzhong is currently at a crucial stage of his training. Hold your tongue on your matters first. Sima Bing halted, her gaze on Floxenia while a chill crept up her heart. Floxenia's mind-reading abilities were no longer a secret among the upper management. Towards her, few dared to get close. After all, who would be willing to have their secrets revealed? Currently, Floxenia was conferred the director of the Central Intelligence, with authority over 100 intelligence officers. Few could escape her supervision. When she took on the mantle, she was extremely efficient, quickly weeding out dozens of spies and traitors. At the same time, she sourced out all the greedy, unscrupulous people, rapists, and even murderers among the newly formed Crusade group. After she pointed them all out, other than Yuzhong and a few others, everyone in the Crusade group was filled with fear towards this young girl. No one dared to stay too long with her. Even her own subordinates were filled with fear and respect. If it wasn't for the good treatment of the Central Intelligence, no one would dare work alongside Floxenia for long. Within the Crusade group, people were more afraid of Floxenia than Yuzhong. Of course, to protect her, Yuzhong had assigned the Type 4 Anya to guard her personally. With a Type 4 Divine Warrior as a personal guard, no one dared to have any thoughts towards Floxenia. Sima Bing had a similar heart-crawling fear towards her, but she still proceeded over. Floxenia continued to stare coldly at Sima Bing, but did not say anything else, turning to look at Yuzhong, full of reliance. Within the Crusade group, her only friend was the pure and innocent Qi Qinger, and the only person she could count on and respect were Yuzhong, who had accepted and treasured her greatly. As Yuzhong's god and devil imprint continued to glow, his consciousness was in the evolving temple. The evolving temple was currently filled with people who were intending to get their job change. Yuzhong had set up a decent foundation back on Earth, and with the various powerful leaders and their guidance, the evolving temple was utilized efficiently. Every day, there would be ordinary people becoming enhancers, coming over to do their job change. With a thought, the evolving temple began to radiate, revealing Yuzhong's hologram. Who are you? What's going on? The enhancers inside the evolving temple caught sight of Yuzhong, and their hearts turned cold as their bodies tensed for battle. Yuzhong might be the biggest leader over at Guangxi, but many still did not recognize him. Leader, you are Leader Yuzhong. At this moment, one fully equipped soldier came up to Yuzhong and let out an excited cheer. Yuzhong! This is Leader Yuzhong? The moment they heard his name, the entire place was rocked. After all, Yuzhong's fame had spread far and wide. Many of these enhancers that could get a job change in this evolving temple had been reinforcement soldiers that were trained up and assigned here to become stronger. Many of them were filled with respect and veneration towards Yuzhong. This man was the person who had conquered the capital with his people. If nothing went wrong, it was possible that he would reunite the entire country and reestablish order. Many of the soldiers who had already undergone the job change quickly came over, their gazes filled with idolization as they looked at him, awaiting instructions. Yuzhong glanced at that soldier who recognized him. I'm back. Go get Hu Yi, Zheng Minghe, Zhang Shui Wang. Tell them all to come. Yes, leader. The soldier replied and swiftly left. Soon after, a number of elite soldiers quickly arrived, ushering the other reinforcements and supplementary soldiers out. These soldiers could only wait helplessly outside the evolving temple. After a few hours, many assault helicopters descended from the skies as a number of big shots walked out. That was Regiment Commander Hu. Regiment Commander Zhang. Mayor Zhang. Oh my goodness, that man truly is Leader Yuzhong. The soldiers watched the characters alighting from the helicopters and sucked in a breath of cold air. Hu Yi, Zheng Minghe, and Zhang Shui Wang were all people with high authority. Each time they appeared, the entire Guangxi would be sent into excitement, and yet these people actually gathered at a single person's order. They could not help but be shocked. All the important people within Yu Zhong's administration appeared, entering the evolving temple to see their leader. "Leader, boss, leader, how are you?" Seeing his holographic image, many of them were emotional. This was the man that had led them to conquer the capital, creating miracles one after another. Many of those who still had some ambitious thoughts saw Yu Zhong and reigned in their ambitions. His influence and control were expanding at a crazy pace. Even if they tried to stage something, there would not be much room for success. Instead, failure would definitely be a consequence they could not bear. "Everyone is gathered. Very good. I'm now in the second world on the other side of the gates of hell. Let me introduce the current situation. This time, what I'm about to say has to remain a classified secret. Anyone beneath the rank of Major General is not to be made privy to this information." He then proceeded to update them on the situation of the other planet. Upon hearing his words, everyone was beyond shocked. After all, before entering the second world, Yu Zhong's might was already terrifying, and yet he was only comparable to a Type 3 Divine Warrior over there. In comparison, the Saint Clan had over 100,000 Type 3 Divine Warrior, which was equivalent to 100,000 Yu Zhongs that had not yet entered the second stage. They even had more terrifying existences beyond that, like the Type 4 and Type 5 freaks. If they were to act, none of them knew how to deal with it. Chapter 768, Fury. Chapter 768, Fury. The situation now is extremely dangerous. We only have about 10 months to prepare. I have obtained data on a few things here. Quickly manufacture them. He then sent over the information and blueprints of the items he obtained from the second world. When those in the research field received his items, they were filled with excitement. This time, the reason Yu Zhong made his presence known was to ensure the stability of his people and to bring them up to speed. When the gates of hell opened, the battleground would be on Earth, not the second world. After finishing his delegation, Yu Zhong retracted his consciousness and returned to the second world. He opened his eyes and immediately saw Xiangma Bing, and he asked, "Chief Xiangma, what's the matter?" Floxinia was a pretty lowly, but with her mind-reading ability, she was truly a terrifying existence within the Crusade group. Xiangma Bing would not come close if she could help it. She replied, "Leader, right now, the Saint Clan has launched a widespread massacre of the human race everywhere. Please advise on our next step." Yu Zhong was taken aback. "Slaughter? A widespread slaughter? Is this for real?" Those from the Saint Clan were evolved from zombies, and while they might view humans as livestock, treating them as food, hunting them from time to time through their hunting parties, there had never been a large-scale slaughter. After all, while humans were livestock to them, they were also some form of personal belonging of theirs. Killing the humans like this would just deprive them of their future pleasures. Xiangma Bing continued in anguish. "Yes. Other than Saint City, all the other cities are currently participating in their own hunting parties, as countless flesh-eaters and vampires have begun to slaughter the humans within the cities without constraint. Those who have been spared are already taken in as slaves and sent to the quarries and factories to be worked to death. All cities have already become hell for humans. In the past, although the Saint Clan had been unbridled, they had never been this cruel. This time, their actions caused a chill in everyone's hearts. "What's the current death toll?" Yu Zhong asked. "It is estimated to be over 100 million already." When Yu Zhong heard this, he sucked in a breath of cold air. This was 1/3 of the world's human population. Just like that, they had already been killed by the Saint Clan. He had finally understood just how cruel and sadistic the Saint Clan was. He had initially hoped to make use of the humans under the Flesh Eaters to grow his crusade group. Now that they had carried out a large-scale slaughter, he was thoroughly shocked and enraged. Unable to suppress his anger, he lost his mind and roared, 100 million humans have been slaughtered, and we didn't get any inkling of what was happening before? What is your department doing?" There were two branches within the intelligence department of the Crusade group. One was the Central Intelligence headed by Floxinia. The other was made up of the original web of ears and eyes on the ground from the resistance. After Yuzhong had reorganized the entire thing, he had left the web of intelligence and sentry officers on the ground alone, using the same people, while the chief of the division was Sima Bing. To Yuzhong, the value of the resistance had been their network of intelligence. Only by continuing to use the old people was it possible to maximize their efficiency. Had Yuzhong tried to reorganize them and deploy some other people, he might have caused the entire network to crumble. The central intelligence that Yuzhong set up for Floxenia was a newly established one, and in the future, once things were stabilized, he would then take over the previous network. However, as for now, they operated separately. Sima Bing lowered her head when shouted at by Yuzhong, gritting her teeth while holding back her tears. There was no prior warning. They had started killing last night. All the cities had sealed their gates, and almost none of our eyes and ears out there made it out alive. This news was brought by the lucky few who managed to escape through the water tunnels to bring to us. When Yuzhong heard this, his fury subsided slightly. As he calmed down and apologized, "I'm sorry. I lost my head there for a second. I was too agitated." 10 million people were killed mercilessly. Each time he thought about this, his heart would boil with rage. He had seen his fair share of slaughter and massacre, and even the slaughter of 100 of thousands was enough to send him into a rage. This time, on this planet, the Saint Clan had actually culled the lives of 10 million in one go. He was beyond infuriated at this point. At the same time, he felt an immense pressure. He definitely could not allow the Saint Clan to conquer Earth. Should that happen, then the fate of these people here would be repeated back on Earth. Sima Bing wiped her eyes and faced Yuzhong resolutely. "Leader, you don't have to apologize. It was my mistake not discovering their decision to act sooner. I will not shirk my responsibilities. From now on, I swear that there will not be a second time." Her heart ached as well at the thought of having lost 10 million fellow humans. She looked at him and asked, "Leader, what do we do now?" Yuzhong suppressed the boiling fury in his heart and spat out coldly. "For now, let us go teach those beasts a lesson." Red Rock City was initially a bustling city, with a clean water source within its area, attracting countless merchants and vagabonds. Currently, it was littered with human corpses, as numerous human heads were pierced through and stuck on the wall. Every single one of those victims had fear and despair at the point of death, the entire thing looking extremely grim. Within the city, there was death everywhere. The streets were empty, save for the corpses on the ground. Compared to the outer parts, the inner city was a lot less desolate, although the humans there felt nervous, afraid that they would be next. Inside the castle of Red Rock City, 10 Type 3 flesh-eaters were gathered in a room, sipping virgin blood out of boredom while chatting. One of them, a black man, laughed at the city lord Annette. "Annette, when are you going to open your inner city to us and let us have some fun?" Annette laughed back. "In another 2 days. We just finished our hunting party in the outer parts. Those lowly humans aren't feeling too good now. If we act now, most of them will just escape." Within Red Rock City, many strong humans have been bought over by Annette to serve as guards. This was one of the measures the flesh-eaters employed to divide the humans, causing them to fight among themselves. One blonde flesh-eater licked his lips while smiling cruelly. "I heard that Chang Wei Girls' School contains the best quality girls you have. When a hunting party starts, I want to have a good taste of those delicious humans." "Annette, you won't feel reluctant, will you?" Annette laughed casually. "Honestly, it does hurt a little. However, I've already kept 20 exceptional stock. The rest of the goods in Chang Wei Girls' School are yours to enjoy, gentlemen. Since the Sacred War is about to begin again, I do not know if everyone will survive. So let's just enjoy ourselves. If we make out alive, rebuilding the school is no issue." One short and fat flesh-eater praised. "Well said. Those that have not reached 12 years old belong to me. Koizumi Shizaburo. No one is to fight me for them." "Huh." Within the manor, the sounds of laughter rang out. "Hong, hong, hong." At this moment, Loud explosions rang out in Red Rock City, causing the manor to shake as well. The moment they heard the explosions, the 10 Type 3 flesh-eaters got up explosively and punched through one of the walls. Although they had powerful flesh bodies, they would be unable to defend against cannons and missile. Thus, they would not stay idly at one place to be bombarded to death. Spaceship. It's the spaceship. Isn't that from the higher-ups? How come it's here? Annette and the rest looked up and surveyed their surroundings, their hearts feeling a chill. They discovered that there was a single spaceship which they knew only the Type 5 Divine Warriors could pilot, and on the ground, 100 RH-2S were currently marching towards them in an orderly fashion. Seeing such a terrifying scene, Annette and the other Type 3 flesh-eaters suddenly felt fear and despair. Scramble! We can't hold on here anymore. Annette was also a decisive man, as he quickly gave the order. Still thinking of leaving? You beasts can go to hell. Following a cold voice, 2 electromagnetic beams shot out, blasting the heads of 2 Type 3 flesh-eaters to the sides of Annette. Annette and the remaining flesh-eaters turned around to see Yu Zhong holding his electromagnetic gun, alone. Annette frowned as he fixed his gaze on Yu Zhong. Who the hell are you? The black flesh-eater beside Annette scrutinized Yu Zhong carefully and became agitated, yelling, Yu Zhong, he's the leader of the human resistance. Yu Zhong, he has the God and Devil imprint. Kill him, and will be elevated to the upper echelons of the Saint clan. Chapter 769. Consecutively Destroying 11 Cities. Chapter 769. Consecutively Destroying 11 Cities. Upon hearing that it was Yu Zhong, the remaining 8 Type 3 flesh-eaters immediately got excited. If they could hunt this man in front of them, they would elevate in status, position, and even their own bottleneck, reaching the Type 4 Divine Warrior level. In the entire 1,000-year history of the flesh-eaters, only one person had relied on radiation to break through to reach the Type 5 Divine Warrior level. Many had contributed to the cause of the Saint Clan and had been elevated to the Type 4 Divine Warrior level. Ha ha ha, you are my prey. Give me your heart. Following a piercing laughter, a gust of wind blew past as one of the Type 3 flesh-eaters appeared in front of Yu Zhong, sending a powerful fist towards him. Yu Zhong raised his right hand to block. As the fist of the flesh-eater slammed into him, it caused him to be knocked back a dozen meters. Strong. These Type 3 flesh-eaters are not weak at all. Yu Zhong felt his hand go numb. Had he not enhanced his body of steel to reach the second order, his hand might have been shattered by that single impact. Seeing Yu Zhong being forced back, the rest of the flesh-eaters laughed savagely and gained more confidence to charge right at him, their claws stretched out to tear into his heart. In terms of body constitution, as a human, I'm still incomparable to these freaks. With a thought, Yu Zhong's eyes narrowed, and a powerful devil flame dragon soared into the air, enveloping all the Type 3 flesh-eaters around him. The devil flame dragon coiled once, wrapping around the Type 3 flesh-eaters near Yu Zhong, causing them to scream out in misery as they hurried to channel their radiance of life to withstand the burning. However, the Type 3 devil flame was like a leech that stuck to them. No matter how much they struggled, they could not shake it off. Within 2 minutes, 5 of them had been burnt into ashes, their life force absorbed by Yu Zhong through the God and Devil imprint. What a fearsome flame! Annette and the remaining 3 Type 3 flesh-eaters stared at Yu Zhong with fear. Currently, dense sounds of gunshots were ringing throughout Red Rock City, as the soldiers and flesh-eaters of the city took up arms to meet the invading robots. At the same time, hundreds of soldiers were grabbing their laser guns and rushing towards Yu Zhong in the manor. Retreat! Annette and the other 3 exchanged looks and hurried to flee towards the center of the city. They had come to the conclusion that they could not face Yu Zhong and wanted to preserve their lives. There was only retreat. As for Red Rock City, they couldn't care less. Humans were at a constant disadvantage in this world. Even if they had conquered a city, they would not be able to hold on to it for long. The flesh-eaters would usually send an army to reclaim it. Furthermore, out in the wilderness, there was no clean water nor enough food. It was hard to fight a battle of attrition using guerrilla warfare, which relied on sufficient resources. You want to flee? Today will be the day you die. Yu Zhong watched the 3 fleeting flesh-eaters, and his body was immediately shrouded by his dark Do Qi. Under the enhancement of the 3rd Order Dark Do Qi, his body had reached the Type 4 Divine Warrior's level. With a tap of his foot, the roof he was on split apart. At the same moment, he appeared beside Annette. Impossible! How did your speed become so fast? Your speed should not be above mine. Annette could not help but scream in shock when he saw Yu Zhong. He had ascertained that Yu Zhong's speed could not have been this fast from the earlier exchange. Yu Zhong laughed coldly in response, whisking out his flame blade and directly sliced this city lord in half. Fresh blood sprayed everywhere, and this demon who had killed millions of people had finally died at Yu Zhong's hands. The other 2 had terrifying speeds, and in a blink, they had escaped out of Yu Zhong's vision. Suddenly, 2 bursts of blood-colored light shot through the skies, and the 2 of them were directly slain by Duanmu Sheng and Shashi. The 10 Type 3 flesh-eaters might have been killed by Yu Zhong and the experts he brought, but the rest of the flesh-eaters were still as vicious and cruel. Knowing that they were losing, they quickly began to slaughter the rest of the humans in the city. Those humans barely had time to defend themselves, and many were instantly killed or heavily injured. At the same time, some of the human experts had been wary of the madness of the flesh-eaters and begun to engage them in battle. Yu Zhong brought his experts and quickly joined the fray, slaughtering the low-level flesh-eaters. They were simply no match for Yu Zhong and his subordinates. When the army of RH-2S joined the battle, they quickly suppressed all the chaos. When everything had settled down, the once bustling and radiant Red Rock City had been largely damaged, with plenty of broken buildings and dead bodies everywhere. It resembled a ruin, with casualties of both humans and flesh-eaters. The original number of humans had been 80,000. After the slaughter and crazy battle in Red Rock City, there were only 4,000 left. Having conquered Red Rock City, Yu Zhong swiftly mobilized his people to gather all the resources and working equipment out of the city. He had gained a large number of resources and a few thousand people in this attack. At first, most of those people in the inner city had been staunch supporters of the flesh-eaters, but after the massacres carried out, witnessing many of their friends and families killed, they were filled with hatred towards the flesh-eaters, and many took the initiative to join Yu Zhong's crusade group. At the same time, when Yu Zhong invaded Red Rock City, at another side, Gong Tian had led a large fleet to attack Black Crow City, a city also under the control of the flesh-eaters. Jess was also leading another force to crush yet another city elsewhere, gaining resources. Having successfully concluded the assault on Red Rock City, Yu Zhong handed the cleanup to Luo Chun before he led his own elite troops towards the next city. With Bai Yi in control, Yu Zhong had 3 troops all attacking simultaneously, bringing 11 cities down, saving about 100,000 humans and gaining a large number of resources. Retreat? Why? Gong Tian stared at Yu Zhong's image in the display, asking unhappily. Currently, Gong Tian had just taken down 3 cities and was feeling invincible. He had not expected Yu Zhong to call for a retreat at this moment. Yu Zhong replied solemnly, "We have already brought down 11 cities of the Flesh-Eater clan. They're likely to respond any time now. If I'm not wrong, they've gathered a large army to deal with us. If we don't retreat now, it'll be too late." Gong Tian fell silent before replying, "I got it, leader. Let me get White Maple City first, and I'll retreat then." Yu Zhong felt a sense of unease, and he barked, "No, I'm ordering you to retreat now." Gong Tian looked at Yu Zhong resolutely. "Apologies, leader. We're now only about 10 li away from White Maple City. There are 30,000 of our brethren waiting for us to save them. Bai Yi's net has not yet discovered any Saint clan members nearby. With such circumstances, I definitely have to go to White Maple City to save our fellow humans. After that, he cut off the communication. Yu Zhong's army had been split into 3 to take down 11 cities in one fell swoop, of which Yu Zhong took 4, Jess also took 4. Only Gong, Chang, Tian had managed to take 3. He truly wanted to continue. Otherwise, it felt like he could not even compare with Jess. Fucking bastard. Gong, Chang, Tian's forceful cut of the communication caused Yu Zhong to frown and curse. As of now, while Yu Zhong was considered the highest leader, Gong, Chang, Tian's authority was not any lesser than before. He had plenty of loyal subordinates and good buddies. In order to utilize the entire force as a whole, Yu Zhong had no choice but to use Gong, Chang, Tian, as long as he did not think of betraying Yu Zhong. However, he did not expect that Gong, Chang, Tian was so stubborn as to try and rack up merit, that he overstepped his authority. Gong, Chang, Tian quickly ordered, "Convey my command. Everyone is to march forth. The target is White Maple City." Under his orders, the armored fleet began to move forth swiftly towards White Maple City. Soon they arrived. With over 100 RH-2s marching in formation, they quickly charged right through into the city. After breaching the walls, they began to sweep out anyone who took up arms against them. Be it flesh-eaters or humans, whoever fought back would be killed on the spot. Chapter 770, Gong, Chang, Tian's Death. Chapter 770, Gong, Chang, Tian's Death. We took down another city. Gong, Chang, Tian looked as the RH-2s tore through the city with little resistance. The corners of his mouth arched in a satisfied smile. Every time he attacked a city, he would use the RH-2s to charge right in, quickly ending half the battle. The leftover would usually be dealing with those flesh-eaters on the streets who were unwilling. One RH-2 was patrolling the streets of White Maple City, its guns and cannons extended out, sweeping the area for enemies. Suddenly, it twisted, and with a loud roar, the cannons and guns fired madly at one shop, directly killing a Type 2 flesh-eater hiding within. At this moment, a shadow charged over from afar. Under Bai Yi's control, the RH-2 swiftly adjusted its weapons to aim at the new enemy. However, it was too late. The shadow appeared right in front of the RH-2, a long 6M laser blade in his arm that came slashing through the RH-2 right down the middle, separating it in two. The man was dressed in black. Tight clothes looked at the two halves and laughed coldly. What presumptuous humans! Do you think our Saint Clan is for decoration purposes? At the same time, a number of shadows charged out from the various dark alleys at the speed of sound, employing all sorts of means to attack and destroy the RH-2s. Bai Yi's clone in the handheld display of Gong, Chang, Tian began to warn loudly. Warning! Warning! There's an indeterminate number of experts attack the RH-2s. Preliminary investigation suggests that there might be at least 10 Type 4 Divine Warriors. There's also the possibility of a Type 5 Divine Warrior. 36 RH-2s have already been destroyed. Please pass an order. Bai Yi had sent her clones to be controlled by Jess and Gong, Chang, Tian for the sake of the three-prong attack. Without her help, they would not have been able to take down so many cities in such a short time. Yu Zhong would not intervene with their command as well. After all, he was not God. He could not be omnipresent, and thus could only trust their judgment. A poor command would just send their elites to their death. What? How did it become like this? Gong, Chang, Tian turned pale when he heard this, and could not help but shout. What have you been doing? How come so many high-level Saint Clan members appear without you know? You're super AI. For goodness sake. Facing his outburst, he spoke quietly. I might be a super A. There are many things beyond my control and supervision. As long as the enemy is not employing any tools or equipment with computer mainframes, I am unable to hack and obtain intelligence. I'm not an invincible existence. Bai Yi's ability was extremely overpowered. As long as there was a computer-based machine, she could hack into it and bring it under her control. However, there were limitations as well, as she would be helpless towards anything that does not require a computer. Gong Chang Tian had fought beside Yuzhong before and watched how Bai Yi had brought so many types of equipment and weapons under her control, together with the RH-2S, to defeat the Type 4 flesh eaters. This caused him to have a misconception about Bai Yi's power. In fact, while Bai Yi might be extremely powerful, there were ways to counter her. He roared out anxiously, "Retreat! Retreat!" The RH-2S in White Maple City were part of the Crusade Group's main combat force. Currently, they had no way of manufacturing these powerful robots. If lost, they would suffer a drop in their might. Yes, under his order, many RH-2S began to swiftly retreat out from White Maple City. As they fled, they would fire madly at the Type 4 flesh eaters with the help of Bai Yi. However, the Type 4 flesh eaters exploded out with their terrifying strength, chasing after the RH-2S relentlessly, destroying one after the other. Even with Bai Yi's control, the combination of 100 RH-2S could at most suppress one Type 4. Now there were over 15 of them. Such a force was not something the RH-2S could handle. The number of RH-2S lost is now 45. The number of RH-2S lost is now 51. Bai Yi continued to report the current status of the RH-2S. Almost every second, there would be an RH-2 being decimated. Gong Chang Tian was not an inexperienced fighter. He quickly recovered from the shock and issued a flurry of orders. "Heed my command. Team 6 and Team 7 is to rush and kill all low-level flesh eaters and city guards. Team 8, go find a way to slow down the enemy's advance. Team 9 and 10, quickly flee from this place." With his orders, the RH-2S that had all been fleeing quickly changed formation, some attacking, some fleeing, while the others focusing on the slaughtering of the low-level flesh eaters and human soldiers. Like this, the speed of the Type 4 flesh eaters slowed down drastically, with no choice but to send some go and take on those going on a rampage within the city. Gong Chang Tian led the remaining 20 RH-2S to flee towards the distance. He was beginning to regret not listening to Yuzhong, although he was now focused on getting away. Hong! 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 After a round of explosions, a number of RH-2S were destroyed as a handsome man stepped through the destruction, his hands holding a whip. Had this person been placed anywhere on Earth prior to the apocalypse, he would be chased by plenty of girls. This handsome man walked towards Gong Chang Tian while smiling. "How do you do? I'm Gu Mu from the same clan, and pleased to make your acquaintance." On the display of the central computer in the command center, Bai Yi warned, "Warning, warning. Based on the scans of the life form in front, there is an 80% possibility of the person to be a Type 5 ancestor type, a survivor of the Sacred War." Type 5 ancestor. Hearing this, everyone in the vehicle command center, everyone's face fell. The Type 5 ancient were experts who had survived the war centuries ago and had an unimaginable power. At the same time, their battle experience was practically unmatched. There were no games to be played before such existences. The remaining RH-2S began to fire their lasers and cannons at Gu Mu. He remained impassive, dodging within the rain of firepower, some of them barely brushing him by, as though they were all purposely avoiding him. Gu Mu continued walking forward while smiling, while the RH-2S exploded mysteriously, turning into balls of flame. Seeing this, everyone turned ashen. "Attack! Do not cease attacking!" One resistant soldier had despair written across his face as he roared out and began to fire madly at Gu Mu. He had just stood up when his brain split open mysteriously. Gu Mu chuckled. "You guys aren't being nice. Stop the fire. You guys aren't my match. If you continue, only death awaits. I'm not interested in killing you. Where's your leader? I want to meet him." Hong! 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 At the same time, the last 4 RH-2S combusted in balls of fire, and the RH-2S that had successfully conquered a few cities under Gong Chang Tian were all wiped out. All of them eyed Gu Mu with pale expressions, many of them trembling. The disparity in strength was too vast. Even though they had 60 soldiers in this fleet, facing Gumu, they were no different from ants. Their lives could be snuffed out just like that. I'm the highest in command here, Gong Chang Tian. Gong Chang Tian walked out from the command center, speaking brightly in a tone that was neither submissive nor arrogant. Gumu continued to smile warmly. Very good. Gong Chang Tian, I admire you. Let's become friends. I'm sick of the war between the humans and our Saint clan. I do wish for peace. Are you willing to become my friend? Let's work together for peace between the humans and Saint clan. All right? Living in peace. That's impossible. You bunch of sadistic freaks are not worthy of living on this planet. I, Gong Chang Tian, would never live alongside you. Brothers, everyone, charge onward. Let's kill this motherfucker. Even if we can't, we must at least bite a chunk of meat. We humans will never bend our heads. With a roar, his Do-Chi enveloped his body, pushing himself to the state of a Type 4 divine warrior. His eyes turning bloodshot, with a tap of his foot, he shot towards Gumu. Lance also activated his ability, as bright light radiated from his body, shining like the sun, causing everyone to be blinded temporarily. Even Gumu had to shield his eyes from the intensity of it. Chance! Gong Chang Tian's eyes flashed with a glint, as he sent a fist towards Gumu's head. Pump! Just as his fist was about to connect with Gumu, his head exploded mysteriously. At the same time, Lance, as well as the soldiers beside him, suffered the same fate. At least you've got some backbone. Gumu opened his eyes coldly and muttered as he stared at the corpses, before turning around to leave. Chapter 771, Type 5 Mutant Beast Battle. Chapter 771, Type 5 Mutant Beast Battle. The wipeout of Gong Chang Tian's 3rd unit by Gumu and his 15 Type 4 flesh-eaters caused a huge wave among the Crusade group soldiers. The force was an elite troop of the Resistance, most of them of Type 2 divine warrior strength. After they were killed, for a period of time, everyone was nervous, and Yu Zhong had no choice but to remain in the base to keep them settled. The moment those flesh-eaters acted, they had demonstrated their overwhelming power. After the 3rd unit was destroyed, no one dared to go against Yu Zhong's opinions anymore, insisting on killing all the flesh-eaters in one go. Although it was possible for Yu Zhong to harass them with Bai Yi's ability, it was far from really causing any substantial damage. The advantages still belonged to the Saint clan, after all. Within a meeting hall in the ancient ruins, Yu Zhong and his subordinates of this world gathered together. Yu Zhong asked, Bai Yi, according to Radis's information, there should be stronger equipment and weapons of war compared to the RH-2S. We have taken down 11 cities, but we haven't discovered anything. Where would those equipment be? Bai Yi had previously experienced the First Sacred War and was clearer about the combat than Yu Zhong. Bai Yi swiftly replied, the Saint City. Based on the analysis, it is likely that most of the human weapons have been sealed within Saint City. The air fortress that you possess now was one of the strongest weapons utilized by the human forces back then. The Saint clan had decided to use these as well in order to take down cities. Yu Zhong eyed everyone present and asked, Saint City, who has been there before? Can you please fill me in? Everyone fell silent, their expressions falling. Hearing this phrase, Yan's mouth curled, as though he was reminded of some unpleasant memories. He hesitated for a long time before slowly speaking. I've been there. Saint City. That place is the sacred grounds for those of the flesh-eater race. At the same time, it is a paradise where most ignorant humans wish to reside in. Saint City has an inner and outer city, where the inner parts are only exclusive to the flesh-eaters. The outer city contains humans and other flesh-eaters. In Saint City, there's a tough law. Even flesh-eaters cannot kill humans indiscriminately. All those who do so would be heavily punished. At the same time, there is technology that is way beyond our world within the inner city, and any illnesses or ailments can be cured by some of the machines. If you want to enter Saint City, you have to be the elite of the human race and willing to become a loyal dog of the Saint clan. Most of the humans in Saint City are no longer considered as our fellow humans, but the hunting dogs of the flesh eaters. They do not view other humans as equals. Instead, as long as they receive orders, they would take up their weapons to slaughter other humans. There's also a strict household record system. All humans have to leave their fingerprints and iris features with the Bureau. When entering Saint City, they are subjected to fingerprint and iris scans, metal detectors, and radiation checks. Without an identity, it is impossible to enter. Yin seemed to have guessed everyone's thoughts and curiosity as he continued. Although it seems like Saint City is a secure and stable place with laws and regulations, in truth, humans are truly the lowest of lowest there. My parents and older brother had been captured secretly to become their food. When they heard this, everyone's eyes were filled with sympathy. Yu Zhong turned to Sima Bing and asked, "In Saint City, do we have any eyes or ears?" She shook her head. "Nope. It is impossible to extend our reach within." All those soldiers who had tried to infiltrate had sacrificed their lives to no avail. It truly is tough to carry this out. Yu Zhong frowned and thought. After that, he continued to ask everyone, but did not manage to get any further information. After the meeting was dismissed, Yu Zhong went back to his room, when suddenly he got an inspiration and summoned Xiangma Yiming to his room. Yu Zhong asked, "Xiangma Yiming, have you been to Saint City?" He replied obediently, "Yes, master." Yu Zhong became excited and continued asking, gaining more knowledge from Xiangma Yiming. Security in Saint City was as tight as what Yin had described. It was impossible for ordinary people to infiltrate. Even for someone like Xiangma Yiming, a Type 4 divine warrior, if he wanted to bring a human in, they would have to bring the person to the nearby city for a round of tests. After 2 years, then it was possible for the human to enter. As for Type 3 divine warriors, it was impossible for them to try and recommend humans in. They would have to report in, and Saint City would send someone to conduct an evaluation. If there were no problems, there would be further steps along the way. By the time an elite human got in, he or she would be 60 years old. Yu Zhong took in all this information, considering them carefully, and came up with a decision after 3 days. He brought Xiangma Yiming and Duanmu Sheng in an assault helicopter towards Saint City. If Yu Zhong were to stay in the resistance, after 9 months, he would at most expand their size by 1 or 2 times. Against the forces of Saint Clan, it would still be insignificant. He had to take the initiative. Deathly silence, barren, bleak, with no trace of life. As Yu Zhong looked out the window in the helicopter, all he saw were abandoned cities. All of a sudden, the pilot of the helicopter shouted out with a pale expression, "Not good. Leader, there's a strange life form flying over here." Yu Zhong's face fell as he barked out, "Descend immediately." In this world, not even the skies were safe, as there were plenty of mutant beasts in the air. If one's luck was bad, they would meet high-level mutant beasts. Even a fighter jet would be destroyed. Emergency landings were one of the tactics to avoid them. The helicopter quickly descended with Yu Zhong's order. A huge beast wrapped in flames, its wingspan easily over 100 meters and its body covered entirely in red scales, came swooping over. It had a crocodile head. Behind that crocodile head beast, there was a green scaled pterosaur of hundreds of meters in length chasing after the former. The two mythical beasts clashed together in a mad frenzy, one utilizing flames, the other utilizing the storm and winds, pushing their innate abilities to attack each other. Type 5 mutant beasts. Yu Zhong activated his eye of perception and immediately received the notifications. On Earth, he could use the skill to tell the name and level of any mutant beast. However, on this planet, the usage of a skill was severely limited. The two mutant beasts were engaged in a slugfest when suddenly a huge wind blade descended from the skies, striking the assault helicopter. The assault helicopter was sliced through like butter, as countless metal parts scattered everywhere. The pilot was sliced in two as well. Yu Zhong lost his right arm due to that sudden attack, while Duanmu Sheng and Xiangma Yiming were fortunate enough to dodge that. As the both of them had no ability to float, they plunged down towards the ground. Yu Zhong's back began to shine with his dark wind wings, and he shot down like a beam of light towards his dismembered arm. After grabbing it, he placed it back on the wound and channeled his dark dough qi to gather at the injury. Enhanced by the dark dough qi, his cells were invigorated and began to recover, automatically connecting with the stump, and soon his arm was back to normal. Having reconnected his arm, he flew down. The clash between those two Type 5 mutant beasts was too shocking. He would be caught in the crossfire and could easily be killed. The moment he landed on a hill, he quickly hid behind a huge boulder, observing the battle in the skies. A number of flaming fireballs descended, blasting the ground in various places. The flames continued to burn, as though inextinguishable. Numerous wind blades slashed all over the ground, causing new rifts in the earth, their depths unimaginable. The attacks of the two Type 5 mutant beasts were truly devastating and ferocious, as large amount of blood continued to fall towards the ground. Yu Zhong stared at the blood, his eyes almost bursting with desire. Every part of a Type 5 beast was a precious treasure. Their blood could be used to research new, evolving liquids and could nourish energy. Such a treasure was being wasted on the ground. His heart ached, and he pulled out his powerful electromagnetic gun, waiting for a chance. The two Type 5 mutant beasts had terrifying regenerative abilities. Even if they were hurt, their wounds would heal at a visible rate. After battling for 2 whole hours, the crocodile head beast was finally grabbed by the pterosaur in the head, and the sharp claws tore a huge chunk out of its skull. Chapter 772, Velociraptors appears. Chapter 772, Velociraptors appears. The crocodile head beast stretched out its claws and pierced the pterosaur viciously in the chest as well, tearing a large chunk of flesh and some inner organs out. Right at this time, Yu Zhong, who was hiding at one corner, fired his weapon, and an electromagnetic beam shot out, penetrating through the head of the Type 5 pterosaur. The electromagnetic gun, that had always been able to conquer anything, finally failed for the first time. When the beam blasted the forehead of the Type 5 pterosaur, it caused the scales to blast open, causing a 5 centimeters deep wound. Such an injury was nothing to the Type 5 pterosaur. Failing to achieve anything with one hit, Yu Zhong maintained calm, his dark dough, qi channeling and enhancing his body, pushing it to the next level, and he fired another 3 times while maintaining his steadiness. The 3 electromagnetic beam fired out one after another, landing on the wound within milliseconds of each other. Those beams managed to blast through and prick the brain of the Type 5 mutant beast, injuring it like a needle piercing into a person's brain. The Type 5 pterosaur shrieked out in alarm and quickly flapped its wings to flee. A huge tornado blew past as it shot towards the distance like a meteor. Yu Zhong eyed the fleeing monster, and he heaved a sigh of relief. The Type 5 pterosaur and the Type 5 crocodile head beast had gone all out in mutual destruction, both suffering heavy injuries. Even so, Yu Zhong lacked the ability to finish it off. Forcing it to flee was already something impressive. As the Type 5 pterosaur fled, the Type 5 crocodile head beast descended from the skies, directly entering a small valley. Yu Zhong observed the location it was heading to, his eyes flashing with greed, and he quickly burst forwards, chasing after it. That was a Type 5 mutant beast, its entire body a moving treasure trove. Its scales could be used to produce the best combat armor. Its blood could be used to develop evolving liquids, its flesh a powerful source of nutrients, and its nuclei even more precious as an energy source. Warning, warning. The region in front has a radiation of level 4, classified as a mid-radiation zone. Without anti-radiation drugs, your body might possibly undergo mutation. Yu Zhong moved around the valley for a period of time when the radiation device at his waist suddenly beeped out the warning. Without any hesitation, he quickly pulled out the anti-radiation medicine he obtained in Red Rock City and swallowed it, delving deeper into the valley. Warning! Warning! The region in front has a radiation of level 5, classified as a mid-radiation zone. Warning! Warning! The region in front has a radiation of level 6. Each time Yuzhong ventured a certain distance in, the device would squeak out to warn him of the increasing levels of radiation. Warning! Warning! The region in front has a radiation of level 7, classified as a high radiation zone. Even with anti-radiation drugs, your body might suffer and possibly undergo mutation. Yuzhong arrived at the entrance of the valley and heard the urgent warnings of the device. He finally came to a stop and retreated 2 steps. A high radiation zone was extremely dangerous. Even Type 5 flesh eaters would be enveloped and consumed by the radiation in such places, their cells mutating, turning into irradiated devils. In this world, the strongest irradiated devils were not due to the mutations in humans, but those in flesh eaters. Such a zone was basically no man's land. Few would dare to venture in without reason. Yuzhong stood there right at the border, his expression ugly as he gazed deep into the valley, his thoughts fleeting. Fuck it, I must at least get a Type 5 Mutant Beast nuclei. After hesitating for a while, a look of resolution finally passed his face as he gobbled down 10 vials of anti-radiation drugs, pulling his level 5 defense vest to cover his head. This precious item that he got from conquering the capital on Earth could withstand radiation. However, he was not too confident in its ability to withstand high levels of radiation. He then channeled his bone-encompassing armor and put on the scanning helmet he got from Qingzhong City, wrapping his body in dark Do Qi. With his shadow steps activated, his entire being flashed towards the valley at a speed faster than sound. In merely 3 seconds, he had reached a deep part of the valley, noticing that there were no signs of the crocodile head beast. Instead, there was the mysterious Gates of Hell. Gates of Hell. There's actually one here. The Type 5 crocodile head beast must have escaped somewhere else through this door. Should I follow? Yuzhong stared at the Gates of Hell, and he thought to himself, before coming to a decision, that crocodile head beast is still not dead. If I follow it, it's possible to deal the killing blow. I can then absorb its life force. This is truly a once-in-a-blue-moon chance. If I were to miss it, it'd be hard to encounter one again. He immediately charged through the gate. With a bright flash, Yuzhong appeared in another world. The moment he appeared, he quickly activated his second-order stealth, observing his surroundings. He discovered that he was in a place where huge trees towered and reached for the skies, every one of them dozens of meters tall. The grass was lush, and everywhere there were strange plants and flowers. The Type 5 crocodile head beast was slumped at one area, its blood flowing without stop, its breath ragged. It's not dead yet. Who knows, I might be able to tame it and make it into a puppet. Such a thought arose in his heart, before his eyes flashed with pity. Damn, I don't have any Type 5 puppet rune. A single Type 4 puppet rune required 50 Type 3 nuclei to form. A Type 5 puppet rune required 100 Type 4 nuclei. The Type 4 nuclei were truly rare and precious. Even after conquering 11 cities, his total Type 4 nuclei only reached 36. It was not enough to form a Type 5 puppet rune. Yuzhong threw that notion out of his mind and appeared on top of the Type 5 crocodile head beast. Strong, truly worthy to be called a Type 5 mutant beast. Yuzhong stood on top and could tell that the wounds of the crocodile head beast were already healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. If no one disturbed it, the Type 5 mutant beast would easily recover within a short period of time. He took out his electromagnetic gun and fired a few shots into the injured head of the beast. The beams tore apart the brain, further blasting it into pieces. The crocodile head beast trashed and twisted about for a while before dying. As it died, a large amount of life force was absorbed into Yuzhong's body through the God and Devil imprint, entering his gold God-Devil nucleus, enlarging it by a little. Congratulations on gaining plus 20 in all attributes, as well as an additional plus 20 in strength. All skills below second order have gained an extra level. You have also gained 6 skill points. After killing the Type 5 Crocodile Head Beast, Yuzhong gained another terrifying jump in enhancement, pushing his body constitution as well as obtaining 6 precious skill points. With the 6 skill points, he could help his 3rd Order Devil Flame and 3rd Order Dark Do Chi to be enhanced once more. The Dark Do Chi could push his body constitution, while the Devil Flame granted him terrifying, destructive might. He relied heavily on them, thus he would naturally choose to strengthen them first. After killing the beast, he pulled out his flame blade to slice apart the monster. He worked his way from the head down, obtaining the Type 5 nuclei, then the blood, its hide, its meat, and quickly filled up his storage ring. As he was filling up his ring happily, there was a sudden movement in the grass nearby. All of a sudden, a number of beasts bolted out of the blue, charging right for him. What? Having undergone so many enhancements, even without utilizing his skills, his full speed had already exceeded the sound barrier. He leaped back forcefully. However, the speed of the beasts dashing through the tall grass was truly terrifying, exceeding even Yuzhong. Velociraptors. Aren't they extinct? Even if they are, how is their speed this disgusting? Yuzhong's eyes narrowed, and he caught sight of the 6 monsters that were dashing towards him, discovering that they were the ferocious velociraptors that were supposed to be extinct a long time ago. Their speed surpassed the speed of sound, and although they had the same appearance as the dinosaurs of yesteryear, their power seemed to be much more than that. 6 of them opened their jaws wide, catching up to Yuzhong, biting down viciously. Chapter 773, Level 10 Treasure. Chapter 773, Level 10 Treasure. Yuzhong's 3rd Order Dark Do Chi surged as he pushed himself with the shadow steps. His body twisted and he dodged to the side. 4 of the velociraptors bit down on air, while the other 2 managed to land a bite on Yuzhong's body. The sharp teeth of the 2 velociraptors tore through the Type 4 mutant sea snake hide, the Level 5 defense vest, tearing into his body. The force of the bites caused a few of his bones in the right shoulder to shatter as fresh blood flowed. Fast! Shock flashed in his eyes. The speed of these velociraptors could already surpass Type 4 divine warriors. Facing these vicious beasts, Yuzhong dared not stay any longer. With a thought, he channeled his devil flame, blasting towards the velociraptors. In an instant, the 6 velociraptors were engulfed by the roaring devil flames. A bright white light flashed from the bodies of the velociraptors, resisting the burning of the devil flames. Yuzhong was taken aback when he saw the light, radiance of light. However, in just 3 seconds, the 6 velociraptors were incinerated, leaving 6 nuclei. The strands of life force flowed towards Yuzhong. After burning them to death, Yuzhong heaved a sigh of relief. Congratulations, you have crossed the hidden gates of hell to enter the 3rd world. You have 2 choices right now. Go back to the 2nd world, or close this gates of hell, stay in the 3rd world to survive until the day where the 1st and 2nd worlds collide. If you choose to close this gate, you will gain a reward of a random treasure on your body being upgraded to level 10. At the same time, you will have to complete a mission to open up this gate to return to the 2nd world. Level 10 treasure. He was excited when he heard this. The strongest treasure he had on hand was only level 7. Even so, it was a great boon to him, and he had never even heard of the existence of a level 10 treasure. Yuzhong thought for a moment and pulled up his handheld monitor, speaking firmly. I choose to stay here. Close the gates of hell. He had initially intended to stay in the 3rd world to steal the technology from the Saint clan. However, the mission was risky and chances of success were low. In Saint City, there were about 10 Type 5 divine warriors and even the rumored Type 6 divine warrior holding the fort. He had initially hoped to infiltrate and make use of Bai Yi to obtain the technology. However, it was unlikely that he would succeed. Since that was the case, he decided to try his luck in the 3rd world. Even more importantly, the allure of the level 10 treasure was too great. The moment he made his choice, the huge gates of hell closed shut. From the skies, a beam of light almost invisible to the naked eye fell on Yu Zhong's ring, causing it to glow. After the light faded, the ring turned gray as a notification appeared in Yu Zhong's mind. Level 10 mid-grade storage ring. Upon equipping, Spirit plus 60. Storage space has increased to 81 cubic meters. Why was it this? Yu Zhong stared at his storage ring, his eyes filled with a complicated look. While the space increment after it reached level 10 was extremely large, he was happy, but what he needed was something to boost his fighting capabilities. Your mission has been decided. You have to kill a mid-grade dinosaur general by your own hands. The gates of hell would then reopen. A simple notification rang in his mind, and there were no further words. Mid-grade dinosaur general, what's that? He frowned, not knowing how and where to start. However, he was certain that it was likely not something easy to deal with. Yu Zhong turned around to eye the corpse of the Type 5 crocodile head beast, and he felt better. Thankfully, the ring has been expanded. This mountain of meat won't be wasted. At this time, there was sonorous and terrifying roar from a distance. The earth started to tremble, and Yu Zhong felt a strong sense of unease. He quickly used his devil flame to wrap his flame blade and slice the Type 5 crocodile head beast into two, keeping one half into his ring, and ran. Not long after, saber-toothed tigers, microraptors, velociraptors, and his other ancient extinct beasts charged out from the jungle in a dense horde. Yu Zhong looked at the horde, his expression falling. He did not dare stay for a moment longer than necessary. Just 6 velociraptors were enough to injure him earlier. He could not deal with them even at his best condition, not to mention when he was injured. Behind that horde of fleeing dinosaurs, there was a huge Tyrannosaurus rex with powerful hind legs, its height of over 30 m, chasing after them. The speed of the Tyrannosaurus rex was incredibly fast, easily chasing up to a velociraptor. It opened its huge jaws and snapped down on the unfortunate velociraptor, enveloping it entirely. As its teeth came crushing down, there were the sickening sounds of crushed bones and blood splattered out. Yu Zhong watched the scene with a chill in his heart. Had it been him, it was definitely impossible to evade that bite. The running speed of the Tyrannosaurus rex was faster than the velociraptor, but the speed of the bite was even more fearsome. There was no way the velociraptor could even react in time. The Tyrannosaurus rex seemed to have a black hole for its appetite. After swallowing that velociraptor, it quickly dashed forwards, opening its jaws once again to bite at a megaraptor this time. Blood covered its jaw red. There did not seem to be any dinosaur that could defend itself against the Tyrannosaurus rex. The monstrous beast charged up to the remaining corpse of the Type 5 crocodile head beast and started to devour it voraciously. Yu Zhong activated his second-order stealth, running madly. He did not want to face that fearsome beast right now. He managed to escape to a slightly safer and wider area before he gasped for breath. All of a sudden, there was a bright flash of light as some humans in strange clothing appeared in front of Yu Zhong. Is this random teleportation? Yu Zhong saw the sudden transfer of humans and understood. These must be the survivors selected randomly by the system to be sent over. Where is this? Who are you people? Seeing themselves appear in a foreign land, the newcomers were thrown into panic. Yu Zhong stood one side, observing them quietly. This time, of those who were sent here, there were 6 who looked like young hooligans. 2 of them were doctors dressed in hospital garbs. 7 ladies were in cool, seductive clothing, their looks exquisite and attractive. There were 3 men with weapons, their expressions fierce. 8 men were in prison uniform. For black people, 6 white people. 13 naked youths, some of them still joined with one another. 1 fat man who looked to be in a high position or status, with a sexy and beautiful secretary beside him, as well as 2 bodyguards. Holy shit, it's the Rose Group. They're the idols of Rose Group. One of the hooligans caught sight of the 7 ladies in cool clothing and shouted out excitedly, "Lu Yingbing, I'm your fan. Help me sign an autograph, please." The 6 hooligans immediately clambered over towards the 7 beautiful ladies. The 8 prisoners, as well as the weapon-wielding men, segregated themselves according to their own groups, exchanging cold looks while eyeing the rest warily. The bodyguards of the fatso quickly arrived by his side, pulling out their weapons to keep an eye on their surroundings. The 4 black and 6 white people also observed for a while before heading towards the forest. Rose group? On Earth, there should not have been such an idle group. Yu Zhong frowned when he heard this. Although he was not familiar with the entertainment circle, he was certain he had never heard of the Rose group. Furthermore, based on the reaction of the 6 hooligans, it seemed like the Rose group was extremely popular. Yu Zhong came up to the 7 ladies who were being harassed by the 6 hooligans and asked, "Are you people from Earth?" One of the hooligan with piercings, his fashion sense heavy with jeans, and his expression wild and fierce, shot a dirty look at Yu Zhong and shouted, "Earth? Are you fucking daft? Scram! Can't you see this senior trying to hook up? I'll beat your fucking ass." Another ordinary-looking hooligan with a face full of pimples grabbed a big-breasted lady and tried pulling her towards the forest, while cursing, "Fuck! What the fuck are you acting pure for? Stinking bitch, you must have been screwed countless times by those producers and directors. This senior wants you for one time, yet you don't want to give me face. Fucking bitch. Everyone, let's take turns screwing her." The young lady, with light makeup, her hair in a single ponytail, and her figure truly explosive, started to scream, "No! Save me! Save me! Shun, this is Sun Lon Lon. Your father. I have had a crush on her for a long time. I want to be her first." Following some wolf calls, the 6 of them pounced over. As Sun Lon Lon was being dragged away, the rest of the 6 beauties had fear in their eyes, not daring to say anything. Only one of them, whose looks were the most striking out of them, with a pure yet valiant aura about her, stepped forward to shout, "Let go of her! Let go of Lon Lon! You guys are breaking the law. I'll call the cops." Chapter 774, Prehistoric Giant Mosquitoes. Chapter 774, Prehistoric Giant Mosquitoes. One hooligan laughed with lust as he grabbed the girl's hands, pulling her towards the forest. "Han Chong, just nice. You're the one I like. You guys aren't allowed to snatch her from me." Han Chong immediately screamed shrilly, "Let go! Save me! Save me!" The 2 doctors exchanged a look of hesitation before running forward. 2 of the hooligans pulled out knives from their waists and threatened, "Fuck off! Your seniors are here conducting business. Don't butt in. Otherwise, we'll leave you with some presents." The 2 doctors came to halt, their bodies shivering slightly, before lowering their head in shame. Although they had their conscience, under the threat of death, they chose to maintain silence. The rest watched coldly. No one intended to help. "Help! Help!" The voices of Han Chong and Sun Lon Lon rang out throughout the compound. One prisoner stepped forward with a savage grin, walking towards the other 5 members. "Damn, this senior has been cooped up so long, and have not touched any woman for so long. Today, I'll enjoy myself properly. Seriously, what a bunch of trash." Yu Zhong saw this and frowned, pulling out his silencer pistol, pointing it at the hooligan who had grabbed onto Han Chong and fired once. A bullet hole appeared in between his head as the dead youth slumped to the ground with a look of disbelief. Gun! He has a gun! Everyone attack!" Seeing that Yu Zhong use a gun to kill their own friend, the other 6 hooligans felt fear. They screamed out, and 3 of them charged over, while 2 escaped toward the forest, and the last held Sun Lon Lon as hostage. Following a few clear gunshots, the 6 of them were shot dead. As their dead corpses slumped to the ground, the rest of the people were filled with shock. Han Chong and Sun Lon Lang were pale, not knowing what to do. The convict who had wanted to enjoy himself felt his back break out in cold sweat as he edged away silently. The fatso, his secretary, and bodyguards all looked at Yu Zhong with alarm and respect. Yu Zhong came up to Han Xiong and asked, "I'm asking you, did you guys come from Earth?" Han Xiong looked at this man who had just killed 7 men without batting an eyelid, trembling in fear. However, she replied resolutely, "What is Earth? I don't understand. Our Rose group come from Duran country. We're just an idol group from Duran country." Yu Zhong was sure they were not from Earth, and immediately changed his question. "Duran? Which planet are you guys from?" "Our planet is called Saturn." She finally understood Yu Zhong's question, and her face turned pale as she continued to ask in disbelief, "Mister, are we not on Saturn right now?" Yu Zhong replied, "Nope, this is not Saturn." He calculated silently. Seems like it's not only our Earth that had been sucked into this cruel world. Other planets are likely within the palms of that existence. Han Xiong saw Yu Zhong's wound from the bite of the Velociraptors and could not help but remind him, "Your injuries are serious. You should go to the hospital." She was good-hearted, and although Yu Zhong had killed the 7 hooligans mercilessly, and she was filled with fear towards him, she still reminded him. The fatso clapped his hands lightly to attract everyone's attention. He smiled and introduced, "Hi, I'm Luo Shang, the CEO of Tian Group. Seems like everyone had been transported here by some mysterious power. I suggest that everyone join hands and look for a way home. How about that?" "Help! Help!" Before he could finish speaking, screams of fear sounded from the forest. 3 black men and 5 white men ran out from the forest behind them. A saber-toothed tiger chased. With a single leap, it pounced onto one of the black men, ripping his throat with a single bite. "Run!" The moment the tiger appeared, everyone started to run in all directions. Only Yu Zhong stood still to observe the tiger. Han Xiong ran a few steps before she saw Yu Zhong remaining where he was and screamed, "Run! You're going to be eaten if you stay there." Yu Zhong laughed lightly, looking at the saber-toothed tiger. "No worries. I'm just in need of good tiger pelt." The beast looked towards Yu Zhong warily and instantly abandoned the corpse of the black man in its jaws. With its limbs tensing up, it quickly pounced towards Yu Zhong with a speed surpassing Type 2 lightning. "Fool!" Han Xiong watched as the saber-toothed tiger leaped towards Yu Zhong and cursed. Although she was afraid of this man who had killed those hooligans, she was grateful to him and could not bear to see him eaten up. Yu Zhong pulled out his flame blade and slashed down. With a flash of his blade, the head of the saber-toothed tiger soared into the sky, fresh blood pouring out of its body as it slumped to the ground. Amazing! Han Xiong saw how easily Yu Zhong had slaughtered the saber-toothed tiger, and her heart was full of shock. After killing it, he immediately pulled out a small gas stove, pot, clean water, as well as seasoning to prepare the Type 5 crocodile head beast. Han Xiong shot Yu Zhong a look and quickly chased her companions. "Help! Help! Save me!" Han Xiong had just run a few steps when she saw the other idols of the Rose group fleeing towards another direction. Behind them, there was a huge mosquito with a wingspan of 6 m. Its sucker pierced through the chest of one of the girls. She was screaming out in terror and pain. Han Xiong saw this and screamed out while crying, "Wen, hold on. I'll get someone to save you." Before she finished, the body of one convulsed violently, and her entire body seemed to be suddenly drained of all fluids. There was no chance of survival at all. The rest of the girls screamed when they saw it, fleeing as far as they could like headless flies. Han Xiong continued to scream while running back towards Yu Zhong. "Over here! Here! There's an expert here. He can protect us." Only Sun Lan Lan, a petite girl, as well as another tall one with chestnut hair, quickly ran over. The remaining 2 seemed to be oblivious as they fled towards the forest. When a huge mosquito had finished sucking Wen's corpse dry, it flapped its wings and flew toward Han Xiong. When the 4 of them saw this, their souls almost left their bodies as they quickened their pace. The petite girl was fleeing hastily when she tripped over a stone and fell to the ground. Despair was written all over her face as she screamed in a shrill voice, "Save me! Cheong Cheong! Save me! Lon Lon! Don't leave me behind! Chun Chun!" Hearing her screams, Sun Lon Lon came to a halt, hesitating for a while. The chestnut hair Chun Chun continued to flee with big strides. Han Xiong came to a stop, gritting her teeth, throwing a huge stone towards the giant prehistoric mosquito, screaming, "The Mister from Earth! Please save us!" She lacked strength and had no prior training, thus the stone missed the mosquito. The prehistoric mosquito was about to pierce the body of the petite girl. The girl's face was written with despair, tears flowing out her eyes, and there was even a sliver of yellow urine coming out from her pants. Pong! Pong! Just as it was about to finish off the girl, 2 stinger bullets slammed squarely into its head, bursting it, and the mosquito was dead. Blood sprayed all over the girl below as the lifeless mosquito plunged down and fell on top of the petite girl. Whoa! She was shocked as she quickly scrambled from under the body of the mosquito, without a care for her image. Han Xiong, Sun Lon Lon, and Zhang Chun Chun turned to look at Yu Zhong, as well as the stinger in his hands. The 4 of them quickly ran to his side, finally feeling a sense of security. Han Xiong thanked Yu Zhong with gratitude. "Many thanks. I'm Han Xiong. This is Sun Lon Lon, Zhang Chun Chun, and Qian Wei Wei. How do we address you?" "It's Yu Zhong," Yu Zhong replied indifferently, before whisking out the meat of the Type 5 beast and began to devour it. The meat was tender and bouncy, full of flavor and extremely delicious. The moment it entered Yu Zhong's abdomen, it transformed into energy to nourish his body, pushing his recovery. Qian Wei Wei began to sob at one corner. Zhang Chun Chun looked at Yu Zhong, a strange glint in her eyes. Sun Lon Lon hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. "I'm Sun Lon Lon. Thank you for saving me earlier." He replied indifferently, "Don't mention it." It was merely a wave of his hand. Yu Zhong was also sick of seeing scums bullying women. After that, he went back to his meal quietly, and the atmosphere turned quiet. Chapter 775, Dino, Slave Hunting Team. Chapter 775, Dino, Slave Hunting Team. What's going on? As Yu Zhong gobbled up 10 pieces of the meat, the Type 5 meat managed to nourish his body, pushing his healing to recover from the wounds of the Velociraptor. However, as his muscles began to heal, there were sharp stabs of pain from his wounds, as a numbing sensation began to travel throughout his body. Yu Zhong's face turned ugly and had a bad feeling. "Help! Help!" At this moment, there were the sounds of screams from the forest. The fatso, his secretary as well as his bodyguards, turned to look as those youths who were engaged in an orgy ran out of the forest, their faces full of shock and fear. Han Xiong, Sun Lon Lon, and the other 2 immediately got behind Yu Zhong. The fatso and his entourage were running with all his might, when suddenly a long spear came hurtling out of the forest, piercing one of the bodyguards beside him, pinning him to a tree. The bodyguard wailed in agony while he struggled. The sultry secretary despaired as she gritted her teeth and pushed the fatso in front of her, causing him to fall. Multiple spears then shot out suddenly, piercing the fatso full of holes, causing him to squeal and scream like a pig being slaughtered. The secretary had fear in her eyes as she ran towards Yu Zhong and pleaded, "Save me! Save me! As long as you save me. Once we're back, I'll give you 50 million credit points. I'll give you anything. Please, please save me." However, Yu Zhong was in a tight spot and could not afford to deal with the lady. A strange, numb sensation traveled throughout his entire body from the wound of his right shoulder. Everywhere the sensation spread, he felt his control over his body cut off, as though he had lost that body part. Shit! Yu Zhong's expression turned ugly. He had never experienced such an abnormal thing. With his regeneration skill, No matter how many times his chest had been pierced, he had always healed properly. It was the first time he was facing such a strange phenomenon. If it were during a peaceful period, it would have been fine. However, they were in the middle of nowhere with danger beseeching them on all sides. He had not even gotten a clear picture of how dangerous the third world was. If he was not careful, he might die at the jaws of those strange prehistoric beasts. The secretary had barely managed a few yards when a long spear shot out from the forest, piercing her left leg, blasting it to pieces. She screamed out and tumbled to the ground, moaning in agony. The tall grass shook as 10 humanoid creatures riding atop a Velociraptor each, with spears in their hands, appeared. They were over 3 meters tall and had green skin, and the most fearsome thing was that they had dinosaur heads. The 10 dinosaur head hunters nudged their mounts forward towards the escaping nude young men and women, and they reached them easily, opening their jaws to snap down on them. "Help! Save me!" One naked man screamed out as one of the velociraptors chomped down on his body. With a sickening crunch, the man was torn in half. A naked young woman ran and suddenly tripped, tumbling to the ground. She turned to look fearfully at the approaching dino head, her eyes filled with horror as urine began to flow uncontrollably. She cried and pleaded, "Ah! Don't kill me! Please don't kill me!" Yuzhong stared at the 10 dino head hunters who had suddenly appeared and stood right up, channeling his dark do chi, enveloping his entire body. However, just as the dark do chi started to flow, his entire body was buffeted by a numbing sensation, and he crumpled to the floor. "Fuck! What's going on?" Yuzhong was thoroughly shaken as he tried to struggle and stand. However, his entire body seared in temperature, and he felt dizzy, falling into a semi-conscious state. The 10 dino heads charged out from the forest, ignoring those who were on the ground, instead chasing after those who were fleeing, throwing spears to nail them to the ground. Sun Lan Lan trembled uncontrollably, not daring to move, asking Han Xiong, "What should we do?" As Yuzhong suddenly crumpled to the ground, they felt helpless, having lost their pillar of support. These dino head hunters did not seem to be friendly. Yuzhong had fallen down suddenly, and while Han Xiong was similarly frightened, she maintained her wits to observe. "Wait, they seem to be chasing those running. Let's wait." Those who were running seemed to have noticed this as well, and many quickly got down on the ground and begged for their lives. One of the dino people gazed down at his prey, revealing a satisfied expression. "Very good. Seems like our slave hunting team has gotten a good haul of humans. We can have a good drink when we're back." These dino people actually could speak, although it was in some different language. However, for some weird reason, everyone could understand them clearly. One of them threw a large rope over to a naked man and barked, "You, come over here, tie them up." The naked man grabbed the rope and nodded profusely, tying the rest of the humans. "Yes, yes." Yuzhong, the naked woman with one missing leg, and the rest of those who had been pierced by spears were all tied together and tied to the tail of one of the velociraptors. The human corpses were all tied together on another velociraptor. Yuzhong sunk into a semi-conscious state and watched helplessly as he was dragged along like trash. The squad of dino people regathered and left the area. Many squads appeared within the forest. Behind them, they dragged many human corpses or their own velociraptor corpses. Some of them even had dinosaur eggs. The total number of hunters were about 200, as they regrouped and quickly left. While in his semi-conscious state, Yuzhong could feel his entire body suffering from a tingling sensation, when suddenly a hot surge of energy charged everywhere, causing him to lose control over his body. At this moment, the golden god-devil nuclei in a sea of knowledge began to glow, and the gold radiance continued to shine brightly, pulling forth all the life force that had been absorbed into his cells, transforming them into the purest energy to nourish his body. Congratulations on becoming a strength, stamina, and agility triple attribute evolver. Congratulations on achieving the perfect attribute evolution. all skills below second order will gain a level of enhancement. You've also gained the level 5 skill, Summon Tame Beasts. Level 5 skill, Summon Tame Beasts. Regardless of your position, casting this skill can summon the beasts that you have tamed to your side. When Yu Zhong woke up, a constant flow of notifications resounded in his mind. Perfect attributes. I actually became a 6-attribute evolver. I didn't die. His eyelids fluttered open and discovered that he was in a dark and smelly cell, with almost no light. You're awake. At this moment, the excited squeal of a girl sounded nearby. Yu Zhong turned around and noticed Han Xiong grabbing a wet towel, looking at him with joy. Evidently, this pretty girl had been taking care of him all this while. It caused him to feel touched and warm, despite his hardened heart. He asked, "How many days was I out for?" Han Xiong sat beside him. 2 days. Where is this? This is the underground jail of Tamron City. We were captured by a hunting squad from Tamron City, becoming their slaves. This is where they keep us. Yu Zhong assessed his plight, turning his head to take in information, noting that there were 31 people within the cell, everyone almost handicapped from having lost a limb. The secretary, whose left leg had been destroyed, was curled up in a corner, her face dirty, and her appearance looked like a ghost, with none of her initial allure and charm. Yu Zhong asked, "Where are your friends?" Han Xiong pointed to the next cell. "They're over there." He swept a gaze across, noticing that Sun Lon Lon and the other two were huddled together in a corner of the other cell, their faces pale and weak. "Why are you here?" Han Xiong looked straight at him with her clear eyes and smiled brightly. "In order to take care of you, silly. You saved our lives. Since you're in trouble now, I'll naturally help you. This is my way of life." "Thank you." Yu Zhong looked at her and smiled lightly. Maybe he might still have been fine without her care, but this girl was actually willing to go out of her way to take care of him, even in such a situation. It was truly hard to come by. "No problem." She smiled back, revealing a bright expression. In this dark and dank place, it was as though her smile lit up the entire room. At this moment, one Dino person pulled 3 Velociraptors along. When he entered the cell, his eyes swept across the room, before pointing at Han Xiong. "You, come out." Han Xiong stood up. "I'm going. Be careful." She did not dare to disobey their orders. Yu Zhong nodded, "Yep." Chapter 776, Prison Break. Chapter 776, Prison Break. The Dino person laughed grimly, releasing some ropes. "Time for your meal. Go, my darlings." 3 Velociraptors immediately pounced towards the disabled people. "Help! Help! Save me!" The sexy secretary cried, as tears and snot flowed down her face. She struggled towards one corner of the prison. However, she had just managed a few steps when a powerful jaw clamped down on her, tearing her in half. Blood and bones spurted out of the jaws of the dinosaur, causing the Velociraptor to look even more savage. "No, don't eat me. Save me." Seeing the terrible scene, the rest of the disabled people began to run frantically for their lives within the cell. The speed of the 3 Velociraptors exceeded even that of Type 4 Divine Warriors, and ordinary people had no way of escaping such beasts. Many of them lost their lives to the Velociraptors, filling the cell with screams, blood, and the sickening sounds of crunching bones. As the Velociraptors preyed on the humans continued to flee. They knew they could not outrun the Velociraptors, but they just needed to be ahead of their peers, waiting for the Velociraptors to eat their fill. The people in the other cells watched this, and they trembled in fear, their eyes filled with terror. They crept back in their own cells, afraid of their own fate. "Damn beasts. Seems like they treat us as food for these Velociraptors." Yu Zhong felt a boiling rage in him as he watched. These Dino people obviously did not treat the humans as humans, instead, as food to feed these Velociraptors. In one cell, Han Xiong's scream sounded out, "Watch out!" After tearing apart one unfortunate person in 2, a Velociraptor turned towards Yu Zhong and charged at him with a flash in its eyes. How did speed become slow? No, that's not right. I become faster. Yu Zhong stared in wonder when he saw the Velociraptor pouncing towards him. He suddenly burst forth and leaped onto its back, sending a fist towards its head. After going through a metamorphosis this time, possessing the evolved strength attribute, he suddenly had 38 times strength, and when that force exploded out, the Velociraptor immediately buckled. Yu Zhong sent fist after fist, pummeling the head of the Velociraptor, its skull caving in. In a breath of a time, the Velociraptor died with its brain juices flowing out. Might as well go all the way. Let's break out of this goddamn place. With a thought, Yu Zhong flipped his hands and brought out his flame blade. He burst forth with his full speed, instantly appearing in front of the Dino person, his blade slashing down, chopping him in half. There was not even enough time for the Dino person to react. At this time, the two remaining Velociraptors charged over, and their speed was still a threat to Yu Zhong. Furthermore, their fangs had some obvious bacteria. He did not want to be bitten by them again. He activated his shadow steps, his speed exceeding a peak type 4 divine warrior, reaching 1.3 Mach. He lightly leaped onto one of them and sent another powerful fist towards its head, sending it crashing to the ground. The other Velociraptor opened its jaws, forcing Yu Zhong to retreat a step, and the Velociraptor closed its jaws on empty air. He then sent a kick towards its head, and the beast, which weighed a ton, to fly 12 meters. The single hit caused the Velociraptor to concuss. Yu Zhong pointed with a finger, and a Type 3 puppet rune flew out, entering the head of the beast. Yu Zhong eyed the other Velociraptor still on the ground, and also pointed, sending another rune towards it. When the rest of the humans saw Yu Zhong easily disposing of the Dino person and 3 Velociraptors, their eyes were filled with shock. They knew how terrifying these creatures were, and no one had been able to withstand a single strike from them. The Velociraptors were more powerful than any beasts that any of them had seen. In the cell, one young man who had thinning hair screamed out, "What are you doing? You bastard, you actually killed the esteemed Dino people. Do you know what that means? All of us will die because of you." "Fuck, you actually killed him? Bastard, why did you kill the Dino person? Are you trying to get us in trouble? Beast! What were you thinking? You're going to drag us all with you." A number of curses were directed at him, as the other people all could not help but become frantic. He shot them all a glare and barked, "Shut the fuck up, bunch of trash. My temper is not good. If any of you want to spout more bullshit, I can send you to meet the dinosaurs in hell." At that, everyone's hearts trembled in fear, and they fell silent. They saw how casually and ruthlessly he had finished the dinosaurs off. They did not dare to wage their own lives on his temper. "I want to make my way out of this prison. Those who want to stay, stay. Those who want to leave, leave." He pulled out his flame blade and tore his way into Han Xiong's cell. "Are you coming with me, or staying?" Han Xiong looked at Sun Lan Lan and the rest. "Can I bring my friends along?" "Sure. Let me make myself clear first. If there are any battles later on, I might not be able to ensure their safety." Han Xiong turned to look at the rest and asked, "Did you guys hear that? Are you coming?" "I'm leaving. I don't want to become food like the rest here." Sun Lan Lan and the rest exchanged looks, hesitating. They had seen how terrifying the dinosaurs were. Inside this Tamron city, there were dinosaurs and Dino people everywhere. Yu Zhong might be strong enough to deal with 1 or 2, however, it would be a tough mission to lead them out safely. The moment they were caught, they would definitely face unimaginable consequences. Yu Zhong barked coldly. 3 more seconds to consider. To these beautiful idols, Yu Zhong did not have too much of a favorable impression. He only felt better about Han Xiong because she knew how to repay kindness. Sun Lan Lan gritted her teeth and stood up. "I'm coming." Zhang Chuncheng and Qian Weiwei lowered their head and apologized softly. "Sorry, Xiong. Let's go." Since they had made their decision, he quickly led Han Xiong, Sun Lan Lan towards one of the Velociraptors. He had intended to save only Han Xiong. That was why he prepared stead. The other was for convenience. Grab onto me. Yu Zhong leaped onto the Velociraptor, hugging Han Xiong's arms while commanding Sun Lan Lan. Sun Lan Lan looked at Han Xiong with envy, before getting up and hugging Yu Zhong from behind. Yu Zhong grabbed on the ropes and urged the two Velociraptors out. Save me! Save me! Let me out! Let me out! Open this up! Let me out! Let me kill my way out together with you. Many of the humans began to scream and holler in frenzy within their cells. While some were willing to stay and wait for their deaths, many wanted to fight for their lives. Yu Zhong rode the Velociraptor and swung his black tooth blade, causing all the cells to be broken, releasing the human captives. Warning! Warning! The human slaves are revolting. An alarm began to ring as a number of Dino warriors charged out. 3 of them stood in front of Yu Zhong, barking, "Hold it! Go to hell!" He then whisked out his stinger, firing 3 shots, killing them with a blast to their heads. Tough bodies. He looked at their corpses, and his heart chilled. Their bodies were truly tough, already reaching type 3 divine warriors. These were just ordinary Dino people who knew what else was out there. Yu Zhong kept his stinger and pulled out his electromagnetic gun, killing his way out. Various Dino people were charging over, but their heads were blasted apart by the beams from Yu Zhong's electromagnetic gun. Having evolved to a perfect attribute evolver, his strength had undergone a heaven and earth transformation. Just as body constitution was already on par with a type 4 divine warrior. Adding on to his skills, the ordinary Dino people were not his match. Chapter 777, Icy Hell. Chapter 777, Icy Hell. The entire underground prison became chaotic as droves of human captives began to flee. Yu Zhong sent out a few slashes, turning the steel bars of a cell into chopped-up parts, before turning around to leave. Wait a moment, this little brother, are you intending to break out of the prison? If so, allow me to lend you a hand. Right at this time, a voice sounded from behind. Yu Zhong turned around, only to discover a burly man with a pair of fierce eyes. This man would have been assumed to be a convict among humans. Furthermore, he had 6 other inmates behind him, just like a little ring. The man with muscles introduced himself in a boom of voice. I'm Yiming. These are my brothers. Yu Zhong gazed at them and asked them without standing on ceremony, what ability do you have? Yiming replied, I've been held in a cell for a year, and I'm extremely familiar with the place. This little brother, you're truly strong. However, it's not enough to break out of this Tamaron prison. There's a certain Dino Lord over here as the head guard. His strength is no less than 10 times that of the normal Dino people. Furthermore, his mount is a violent raptor. They all have the strength of type 4 divine warriors, with the violent raptor at the peak of type 4 divine strength. Many experts have been torn apart by their teamwork. Do you know how to ride? Yu Zhong asked. Yes. Yu Zhong then pointed to another Velociraptor. You and your brothers can ride that. Great. Yiming was considered a straightforward person and immediately got on to the Velociraptor. Yiming asked, how do we address you? Yu Zhong. Yiming then continued. Brother Yu Zhong, the lowest level of this underground prison is an Icy Hell. They keep many of our human experts there as punishment. If you want to break out of here, you need to release those prisoners. That way, it's possible to charge out of Tamaron with everyone's combined efforts. Yu Zhong asked, are there any experts guarding the Icy Hell? Yiming swiftly replied, there aren't too many experts there. The strongest is maybe a type 3 divine warrior and some of their mounts. However, we have to be fast, as the Dino lords of the town would quickly come over to deal with the situation. All right, let's head there. Yu Zhong swiftly made a decision. Since he was not yet familiar with this place, he needed the locals to help. The Dino people were obviously hostile to the humans, thus Yu Zhong could only cooperate with their enemies. Yu Zhong swiftly changed his direction, heading deeper into the prison. Icy Hell. Their target is the Icy Hell. Stop them. They cannot be allowed to make it there. Damn it. Their targets are the precious beasts. Quick, stop them. Following some roars and shrieks, a number of Dino people charged over on their various Velociraptor mounts. Space was vast in this underground prison, allowing those mounts to run unbridled. Within a few minutes, more guards were appearing and rushing at Yuzhong. If it were before his evolution to a perfect attribute evolver, Yuzhong would have definitely been forced back by those Dino people, and he would only be able to strike a strategic retreat. However, now he controlled his electromagnetic gun with ease, firing multiple beams out, claiming the lives of the Dino people with every single shot. The Velociraptors continued to snarl and attack Yuzhong even after their riders were killed. With a steely glint, Yuzhong slashed out continuously with his gigantic black tooth blade, empowered by his dark do chi, slicing off the heads of the Velociraptors. As he killed them, he was still secretly surprised in his heart. The defense of this Tamron prison is truly tight. If I hadn't evolved, I wouldn't have been able to last this long. After entering the third world, Yuzhong had undergone an evolution, yet he still needed to push his limits and channel his dark do chi to maintain an absolute advantage. Had it been before, dealing with a single-type 3 Dino rider would not have been an issue. 6 simultaneous attacks could force him back. 20 of them would be able to kill him. After all, before the evolution, he was also capable of unleashing a might close to an initial stage type 4 Divine Warrior. This showed how powerful the Dino Riders were. He continued to slaughter them as they come, while his stamina and spirit was being whittled away quickly. Finally, at the deepest recess of the prison, there was a huge door that had engravings of a T-Rex, Tanistropheus, Brontosaurus, Cetiosaurus, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, and other magnificent prehistoric beasts. Yiming stared at the door with a complicated gaze. This is the Icy Hell. Beyond the door, there are strongest human experts, frozen. The Icy Hell was known as the forbidden area of Tamron City, where many powerful human experts were sealed in ice. It was the deepest of prisons, and it was rumored that every single human kept there had never been able to come out. Open! Yuzhong swung his 2M, long black tooth blade with his 38 times strength onto the huge door. Dang! Following a loud, resounding sound, Yuzhong's black tooth blade was sent flying, while the knockback caused his entire right arm to go numb. However, there was not a single scratch on the huge door. What a tough door! With his eyes full of shock, Yuzhong saw that there was no mark left by the weapon that could even split apart an entire tank. The door was truly resilient. Yiming looked at the door and gritted his teeth. Damn it! It's rumored that the door requires the key of the governor, Uribi Taichi. I didn't expect it to be real. Yiming had only heard about the legends of the Icy Hell and had never been here before. Those who had seen this door were either the humans who were sealed within or the Dino people that brought them here. With a thought, Yuzhong brought out his sharpest blade, the flame blade, wrapping it in dark do chi, and slashed down once more. Dang! Another resounding clash. The flame blade managed to slice through slightly. Even with Yuzhong's channeling of the dark do chi, it only caused the flame blade to enter little by little. He quickly retrieved his blade with a dark look. No, if this goes on, by the time I cut through, my stamina will be gone. Yiming's face had an apologetic look. Brother Yuzhong, I'm sorry. I really did not know that this door was so tough. Let's leave, otherwise it'll be too late by the time the Dino people come. I'll try once more. Yuzhong gazed at the door, stretching out his right hand. A pillar of devil flame soared upwards as it quickly condensed in a searing manner and congealed a powerful devil flame blade. Open for me! When the devil flame blade came in contact with the door, it continued to shrink while the intensity of it grew hotter, and it finally sliced through the door like butter. It's opened. Holy shit! He sliced through the Icy Hell's door. Yiming and his brother watched in shock. They had heard that the doors were impenetrable, and he had brought Yuzhong here merely to try his luck. He had not much expectation towards breaking the door. However, Yuzhong had performed the impossible, causing him to be in disbelief. The moment the doors were sliced open, A powerful wind of cold air blew out from within, causing everyone to be doused with a layer of ice almost instantly. Cold. Sun Lan Lan began to tremble uncontrollably, hugging Yu Zhong tighter, hoping to get more warmth from him. Han Xiong was slightly stronger. However, her lips were turning purple, and her body shivered uncontrollably. Yiming and his men were suffering the same. "All you back up. I'll go in to save them." Yu Zhong quickly summoned White Bones, giving it an order, "Protect these two women." White Bones' fiery demonic eyes flashed as it nodded. With a thought, a layer of devil flame shrouded Yu Zhong, and he took his first step in. The moment he entered, he felt the cold plummeting to 20 times worse than before, dousing the devil flames on his body. The intensity of it caused his body temperature to plunge as a layer of ice formed around him. What a terrifying icy hell! This is fearsome. He was taken aback and quickly channeled his devil flames to shroud himself again, pushing his limits to resist the biting cold threatening to envelop him. 5 minutes. Seems like I can hang on here for another 5 minutes tops. I would then be sealed by the cold. Yu Zhong could feel the whittling of his stamina and spirit and came to a conclusion. However, 5 minutes is more than enough. Yu Zhong's gaze swept through the inner parts of this icy hell. Within the mighty cavern, there were a total of 320 ice cages of varying sizes, of which 300 were humans in smaller cages. Of the 20 larger ones, 6 were ice statues containing humans within each of them. Chapter 778, Dino-General. Chapter 778, Dino-General. Such a terrifying freezing force. There must be some secret to this chamber. Yu Zhong took a look around at the humans sealed in ice and swept his gaze around. Inside the icy hell, there was a small, mysterious altar, and the frosty air was billowing out of it, enveloping the entire chamber. He quickly came up to it, noticing that there were many strange runes engraved on it. In the middle, there was a white nucleus. This is a Type 5 Mutant Beast nucleus. What extravagance! They actually used this to create this icy hell. Yu Zhong felt a wave of shock when he saw the nucleus, recognizing it as a Type 5 Mutant Beast nucleus. Every single Type 5 beast possessed an overwhelming strength. Their nuclei would definitely be precious. On his journey, Yu Zhong had been lucky to chance upon one. In this icy hell, there was actually one powering the frost-producing altar, which showed that the Dino people race did not view it as particularly precious. Yu Zhong raised his hands and grabbed the Type 5 nucleus, extracting it from the altar and kept it in his storage ring. The moment he took it away, the source of the frost energy in the cavern disappeared, and although it was still cold, it became manageable. Soon, the rest of the small ice cages also began to melt away at a strange speed. However, the 6 prominent ice status did not seem to have any change. "Apologies, I will need to be a little forceful." With a wave of his hands, 6 fiery lights flew towards the ice statues, and they began to melt, forming large puddles of water. "Gotcha! Finally, I'm out. I thought I would have to be in there for the rest of my life." When there was little of the ice left, one of the statues broke apart in a shower of ice shards, as a burly man with a sword-like gaze stepped out, breathing deeply. He stretched before revealing a bright smile towards Yu Zhong. "Kid, was it you who released me? Thanks. My name is Lei Yong Feng, and I can slaughter dinosaurs with my bare hands." "Ha ha! This senior is finally free from this goddamn place." "Ha ha ha!" Another ice statue broke apart, revealing an ordinary-looking man who smiled as he walked out. He turned to Yu Zhong and grinned. "Kid, I lay bow. Oh, you won. I'm Yu Zhong. Seniors, I'll leave this place to you. I'm heading off first. May fate allow us to meet again." Yu Zhong chuckled before turning around to leave. He opened the icy hell in order to release the captives here. It would throw Tamron prison into further chaos, and he could make use of the chance to flee. Since he had accomplished his objective, he naturally would not stay here. Lei Yongfeng looked at Yu Zhong's retreating back and laughed lightly. Interesting fellow. Just as Yu Zhong stepped out from the Icy Hell, a corpse flew towards him. He twisted his body abruptly, causing the corpse to slam into the gate of Icy Hell. It was crushed in a meat paste by the impact, as though slammed and squashed by a huge truck. A rider appeared, his body in a silver armor, his head that of a dinosaur. His eyes were cold, and in his hands there was a 3M long lance. He rode on top of a velociraptor that was all red in color, larger than ordinary velociraptors by half, and it had a single horn on its forehead. This rider rode his mount quietly, slowly entering the space, emitting an oppressive, invincible aura, causing one to lose all fighting will. Governor Uribi, Taichi. He's here. We're finished. This time, we're surely dead. Yiming saw the rider and muttered in horror. The rest of the captives beside Yiming had fear in their eyes as they gazed at this Dino-General level leader. Dino-General Uribi Taichi was the strongest and most feared existence in Tamaran City. He had killed countless humans who had tried to break out of prison. He could single-handedly suppress most revolts and chaos, and his hands had been dyed in countless humans' blood. He eyed Yu Zhong coldly. This fellow is strong. He definitely is above Type 4. As Uribi Taichi glared at Yu Zhong felt a sense of danger arise in his heart and had a guess about the level of this expert. Right at this time, from the Icy Hell, 10 experts who had been sealed within charged out, and the moment they saw Uribi Taichi, they roared out in fury, "Damn Dinosaur, I'll tear you apart." One naked man with a head of silver hair tapped his foot and charged at the Dino-General with the speed of an initial stage Type 4 Divine Warrior. One black man waved his right hand, causing a spatial blade that could kill Type 4 Divine Warriors to form and slashed towards the Uribi Taichi. Another yellow-skinned man slammed the ground hard and channeled multiple earthen spikes to burst out of the ground. One woman swung her hair wildly, causing some strands to shoot towards the Dino-General like cannonballs. Every one of those captives had a strange ability, none of them even showing the strength of a Type 3 Divine Warrior. They all were even stronger than Yu Zhong was when he first entered the second world. In the Icy Hell, there were humans who possessed freak-like strength. Great! There's hope. As long as the experts in the Icy Hell work together, even Uribi Taichi would not be their match. We finally have a hope of escaping. Yiming looked at the dozens of escaped captives exhibiting their abilities at Uribi Taichi, and his eyes flashed with hope. Based on his knowledge, such attacks were beyond what humans could deal with. Bunch of trash. If you want to escape from the Icy Hell, dream on. Let me crush that hope of yours. Uribi Taichi snorted as he shot them a cold glance. He urged the Velociraptor beneath him and suddenly disappeared from his location. A lance shot out from the nether void and pierced through the head of a silver-haired convict easily. A huge jaw clamped down on the black man and bit off the entire top half of his body. Uribi Taichi's body appeared, and he brought his lance down like a death god, reaping lives easily. The Velociraptor under him also lashed out with its sharp teeth and tore its unfortunate victims into two. In a breath's time, there were 13 more corpses of the escaped captives. 9 of them had holes in their heads, while the other 4 had their bodies crushed with teeth marks. Uribi Taichi stood quietly at his original position, blood dripping constantly off his lance. The Velociraptor was still chewing as the sounds of bone-crushing rang out, giving them a truly terrifying visage. Yiming and his bunch of brothers, Han Xiong, Sun Lan Lan, had ashen expressions, their eyes full of fear. Sun Lan Lan looked at Uribi Taichi and shuddered. Regret filled her mind. I should not have tried to escape. Uribi Taichi continued to gaze down condescendingly at the people. Lowly humans, you dare to incite chaos and rebel. It's truly a crime that deserves death. However, I'm easygoing, As long as you crawl over here and lick my lance clean, crawl back to your cages, I can spare your lives. If you dare to resist, I will crush you guys just like crushing ants. Crawl your fucking... One of the little brothers roared out in fury, but before he could finish, a lance burst out from a void in the sky, piercing his head. Uribi Taichi continued to laugh coldly. You pieces of trash have no right to talk. Crawl over or die. Neopai Tang. One of the captives beside Yiming roared out in anguish, and in a flash his head was also sent flying. Yiming and the other two captives had steely expressions, their eyes full of grief, but they did not dare to make any sounds. Their lives were in the hands of this terrifying existence. Right at this time, more captives came rushing out from the Icy Hell. Charge! Everyone! Kill those two monsters! One captive roared out loud. However, just as he finished talking, a lance flashed out and his brains were splattered all over the ground. In a second, all the captives halted, their faces full of fear, as they gazed at Uribi Taichi with apprehension. At this moment, a person sauntered out. It was Lei Yongfeng. Uribi Taichi, let me take you on. Uribi Taichi shot Lei Yongfeng a disdainful look. Lei Yongfeng, you're not my match originally. Being sealed in there for so long, you've fallen even further behind. You better get in there obediently, or death awaits you. Lei Yongfeng's gaze narrowed as he boomed. That's right. I might not be your match. However, I've comrades with me. 6 of us against you. If you let us go now, things can still be discussed. Otherwise, don't blame us for bullying you with our numbers. 5 more stepped out from within the Icy Hell. It was precisely the other 4 men and 1 woman sealed in those huge ice cages. They were all Type 4 experts. Uribi Taichi snorted coldly. If you all were at your peak, there might be a possibility of winning me. However, you've been sealed for so long. Give it up. Your only choice is to return quietly and await our orders. Chapter 779. Suppressing Uribi Taichi. Chapter 779. Suppressing Uribi Taichi. Lei Bao roared out in fury and charged towards Uribi Taichi. Why the fuck are you wasting your breath on him? Everyone, fucking do him in. The rest of the captives also roared out and charged towards Uribi Taichi. Facing such a fierce onslaught, the Dino-General had no choice but to urge his Velociraptor back. There were over 300 people sealed within the Icy Hell. Every single one of them was fierce, powerful human experts, possessing at least Type 3 divine warrior strength. Combined, together with Lei Bao and the other 5 Type 4 divine warriors, even Uribi Taichi would not be able to handle it. Kill our way out. Lei Bao took the vanguard position and charged out. The arrogant Uribi Taichi continued to retreat while striking out with its lance. A number of lance beams pierced out, killing the human captives. He was extremely crafty, choosing to target only those weaker ones who were not his match. Yu Zhong continued to rush out quietly with the rest. After paying the price of a dozen people, they finally managed to make it out of the vicinity of the Icy Hell and arrived at a vast field. Out on the field, there was 100 Velociraptors lined up neatly, their riders wielding lances. Kill! Uribi Taichi stopped retreating and quickly led his cavalry towards the captives. Freak, give us your life. Lei Bao wielded only a single huge spear, looking like a bear, exerting the pressure of Mount Tai as he charged towards Uribi Taichi. By exploding out at his maximum speed, he reached 1.5 Mach. Uribi Taichi's eyes narrowed coldly as he aimed the sharp point of Lei Bao's spear. He struck out with his own lance and met the assault head-on, as a powerful tremor traveled up Lei Bao's right shoulder. Following that, Lei Bao was sent flying a dozen meters, slamming forcefully into a wall. In just a strike, Uribi Taichi had caused heavy injuries to Lei Bao, showcasing its terrifying combat might. Strong. Yuzhong looked at Uribi Taichi, and his eyes could not help but flash with shock as well. Right at this moment, Lei Yongfeng and the other 4 peak human experts arrived. They joined hands and met Uribi Taichi, forcing him back. Even so, they were only enough to hold him, not defeat him. With their combined strength, they were still weaker, as each time they clashed, they would cough out blood. Obviously, it was still impossible to contend with this monster. The rest of the Dino people also engaged the other captives in slaughter, both sides unleashing all their might. At every second, there would a Dino person pummeled to death by the humans. Likewise, there would be humans killed by the Dino riders or their Velociraptor mounts. Yuzhong rode his Velociraptor and waved his black tooth blade around, his blade flashing out and killing a number of riders. Han Xiong, Sun Lan Lan watched the unfolding slaughter, their faces white. It was the first time they witnessed such a terrifying scene. After some time, another 20 riders appeared from other locations, joining the fray to suppress the humans. At the same moment, there were screeches of pterosaurs coming from above. Yuzhong looked up, using his enhanced eyes to sweep through the air, and noticed that there was a flock of them flying over from about 10 li away. On top of them, there were many Dino people with bows. Not good. We need to take out Uribi Taichi soon, otherwise we'll all die here. With this thought, he quickly urged the Velociraptor beneath him towards the Dino-General. Uribi Taichi's body twisted slightly, evading an air blade that could slice even a Type 5 expert. The lance in his hand jerked upwards, sending Lei Yongfeng soaring back. It was at this time that Yuzhong charged over like an arrow. Fool! Uribi Taichi's eye flashed with disdain, and he used his lance to pierce towards Yuzhong's heart like a poison dragon, intending to penetrate even Han Xiong together. With a flip of his hand, Yuzhong summoned out 6 light shields, blocking in front of him. The lance sprang out and immediately destroyed the 6 shields. However, he was met by a powerful fiery tornado that threatened to envelop him. If he wanted to follow through with his lance, he would be swallowed by that devil flame. Not bad. You have some skills, but sadly, it's not enough. Uribi Taichi pulled back on his rope, and the Velociraptor below him spat out a powerful but stinky breath, blowing the devil flames away. As the devil flames scattered, a Velociraptor charged out from behind, opening its jaws wide to bite down viciously on Uribi Taichi. His own mount shot the other beast a fierce glare and opened its own jaws, biting down on the Velociraptor beneath Yuzhong on its neck, breaking it with a loud crack. As it slumped to the floor, Yuzhong burst forth with a combat spear, thrusting towards Uribi Taichi. Such tricks would not work on me. Uribi Taichi laughed coldly, piercing through Yuzhong's brain with his lance, as the body dispersed into thin air. Illusion. Uribi Taichi was taken aback. At this moment, a powerful wind blade slashed down at him. He quickly urged the Velociraptor to dodge one side, evading the assault. Lei Yongfeng once again lifted his own weapon to pierce towards Uribi Taichi's heart with the speed of sound, while another male used the airlock skill to hold Uribi Taichi down. Another 2 men also wielded their own combat spears to attack the Dino-General. A powerful light flashed out from the lance in Uribi Taichi's hands, forcefully breaking the airlock, at the same time knocking Lei Yongfeng and the other 2 Type 4 Divine Warriors away. As Lei Yongfeng was sent flying, a powerful beam of electromagnetic force shot out from behind him towards the violent Velociraptor. Since Uribi Taichi's attention was entirely on Lei Yongfeng, he had not enough time to react, and the electromagnetic beam burst through the beast's head, causing it to explode. Uribi Taichi soared up, his eyes fixed on the rubble where the shot came from, noticing Yuzhong and the electromagnetic gun in his arms. Fucking shit. I'll kill you. Uribi Taichi immediately exploded in rage. The violent Velociraptor had been his closest companion, battling alongside him in countless fights, and evolved to its stage with much difficulty. With a tap of his foot, His entire frame shot towards Yu Zhong like a cannonball. All of a sudden, a shadow charged out from below him, wielding a long spear and charging towards him. Another illusion. Break for me. Uribi Taichi shot the figure a look and casually struck out with his lance. Yu Zhong, who had suddenly burst out from the ground, channeled his dark do chi, his speed increasing by more than 2 times, and he sent a gravity manipulation to disrupt Uribi Taichi, whose body sunk slightly due to the increase in gravity. A void hole appeared as countless bone blades shot out, slashing towards Uribi Taichi. The strength of the Dino-General was too insane. Even the bone blades from White Bones were shattered the moment the lance swept out. However, they managed to cause him some injuries. The lance might have been knocked awry just a little bit, but it still entered Yu Zhong's left shoulder with extreme force. Coupled with the powerful strength, it was enough to destroy his shoulder. Yu Zhong forcefully suppressed the pain, appearing in front of Uribi Taichi, and leaped up, his right fist covered with devil flame, slamming into the Dino-General's face. The flames that could easily incinerate a Type 3 Divine Warrior combusted, burning Uribi Taichi's face. His reaction was equally fearsome, raising his left hand to smash Yu Zhong's head. In response, Yu Zhong quickly channeled his dark do chi around his right arm and raised it to block. Uribi Taichi's fist slammed into Yu Zhong's right shoulder, the immense force exploding out, sending Yu Zhong flying over a dozen meters. Even after the enhancement and protection of the dark do chi, his right arm nearly shattered. Fuck, this monster is strong. As he struggled up, his heart was filled with shock. He was already a Type 4 Divine Warrior and was not considered weak, but even so, he was still struggling to kill this opponent. Uribi Taichi's strength was far out of his expectations. The Third Order Devil Flame had reached a level where it was almost able to incinerate anything that it came in contact with. Even Uribi Taichi could not fully extinguish it. His body burst out with a radiance of life. However, it was turned into smoke by the burning devil flames. Uribi Taichi flashed and dodged while bellowing in rage. He forced out an even stronger radiance of life, forcefully extinguishing the terrifying devil flames. After dealing with it, his breath came in pants, having exerted much of his strength. He had dropped to a level of an initial stage Type 4 Divine Warrior. At this time, Yu Zhong suddenly appeared, a fist flying into the Dino-General's face, sending him flying. Yu Zhong continued to rain over 20 blows on Uribi Taichi's body, forcing his state to be weakened, before he pointed out and sent a Type 4 puppet rune into his forehead. Chapter 780, Mid-Grade Dinosaur, General Ku Misaki. Chapter 780, Mid-Grade Dinosaur General Ku Misaki. When Lei Yongfeng and the rest saw Yu Zhong sending the Type 4 puppet rune into Uribi Taichi's forehead, they heaved a sigh of relief. His strength had truly been too much, even if they were peak experts of the human race. Having been sealed for many years in the Icy Hell had taken a toll on their powers. Even after joining hands, 5 of them were no match for him. Now that Yu Zhong had finally subdued him, they felt relieved. Those who break out of prison will die. In the skies, there was a sudden, thundering roar as an arrow swooped down in a flash of life, directly piercing the head of one Type 4 Divine Warrior, killing him instantly. Mid-Grade Dinosaur General. Lei Yongfeng caught sight of one Dino-General who was riding on a pterosaur, his face falling as he muttered, "Brother Yu Zhong, the mid-grade Dino-General Ku Misaki has appeared. We are all not his match, and can only flee for our lives. We'll be making a move first." After which, Lei Yongfeng disappeared from his location, making his escape towards the distance with utmost speed. At almost the same time, all the captives all rushed to escape in various directions. Mid-grade Dino-General, Type 5 Divine Warrior. Yu Zhong took a look and channeled his summon Tame Beast skill. Immediately, a large hole appeared in the air, and Greeny, which had already evolved to the Type 4 stage, flapped its wings and descended. Yu Zhong grabbed Han Xiong, Sun Lan Lan, and leaped onto Greeny's back, while Uribi Taichi followed. "Go! Fly with all your might!" Yu Zhong barked. Greeny could feel the urgent tone in Yu Zhong's words and immediately spread its wings, channeling its innate ability. A powerful gust of wind congealed beneath its wings as it flapped out forcefully, shooting across the skies at a Mach 2 speed. With this sudden acceleration, Han Xiong and Sun Lan Lan would not have been able to handle the G-force. However, Yu Zhong had already activated his Dark Do Chi to wrap around them, protecting them. About a dozen kilometers away, a silver-horned pterosaur soared in the air, a rider dressed entirely in silver alloy armor on its back. The rider had a bow and his countenance was grim, as he eyed Yu Zhong's party escaping into the distance. This was precisely the mid-grade Dino-General Misaki who had killed the Type 4 Divine Warrior with a single arrow. Misaki sighed, pulling out a red arrow from behind, and kept his gaze fixed on Yu Zhong. His eyes opened wide as he drew the arrow extremely taut. A sense of danger arose in Yu Zhong's heart, and he bent down to urge Greeny. "Damn it! Dodge it! Greeny! Fly in an irregular manner." With his order, Greeny began to soar about haphazardly, trying to throw off the aim on it. After 2 seconds, there was a bright glow of radiance of life on Misaki. His eyes narrowed, and the powerful life force entered his red bow. He let go of the arrow, and the arrow shot towards Greeny like a shooting star. The arrow reached Greeny within an instant, directly piercing its body and exploding. A huge, bloody hole appeared in its back as fresh blood poured out. The arrow was incredibly vicious. Although it did not penetrate Greeny's brain, it was enough to shatter its spine. Greeny slumped and moaned in agony as it plummeted towards the ground. With a single arrow destroying Greeny's back, Misaki's countenance was also pale. Although he was strong, that shot over a dozen kilometers had overdrawn his strength. He kept his bow and gave an order to a low-grade Dino-General beside him. "Ku Yufu, go bring 20 soldiers to get those 3 humans, dead or alive. Tamron prison definitely will not let anyone escape alive. They can only become our slaves or toys. This is the ironclad rule of our city." "Yes, Lord Misaki, I will go capture them. Please rest assured." The low-grade Dino-General Yufu replied with respect, before leading a unit of 20 pterosaur riders as they made for Yu Zhong's team. As he left, Misaki turned to look at Tamron prison, his gaze turning dark. "This time, I'll definitely be in big trouble." "What to do?" Yu Zhong looked at Greeny, his expression ugly. He had the dark wind wings and could glide effortlessly in the sky, but once Greeny slammed into the ground, it would definitely die. Even as a Type 4 with a powerful body, its body was too heavy, and dropping from such a height would cause even a Type 5 mutant beast to perish. "Help! I don't want to die. I have not even been in love. I don't want to die." Right at this moment, Sun Lan Lan's cries sounded from Yu Zhong's right. Although Sun Lan Lan was an idol, she was vain, selfish, and even afraid of death. Now that she was falling to her death, she began to just cry her heart out. Han Xiong's face was also pale. She bit her lips hard, trembling with fear. She might be a strong and resolute person, but in the face of death, she was likewise overcome with fear. In fact, there were few people who were truly unafraid of death. Yu Zhong was vexed, and he yelled, "Shut up! Just keep quiet! As long as I'm here, you won't die." Scolded by Yu Zhong, Sun Lan Lan immediately covered her mouth, but her tears continued to flow out. She stared fixedly at him, hoping for another miracle. With a thought, the dark wind wings burst open, supporting the 4 of them in midair. The moment they floated, the fear disappeared from Sun Lan Lan and Han Xiong's eyes. Instead, they were filled with excitement. There was hope after all. Yu Zhong charged down towards Greeny, applying the gravity manipulation to envelop its body and lower it by 5 times. Even so, that could only help to cushion the fall. He had no means to help it recover. As a gigantic beast, Greenie had a terrifying strength, a speed that exceeded most others, sharp claws, and a shocking weight. Even with the 5 times decrease, its speed of descent was still fierce. As Greenie landed and was about to smash into the ground, it channeled its innate ability again, summoning a strong wind to support itself down. As the winds disappeared, it fell down, causing a large amount of blood to splatter all over the trees nearby. Yu Zhong grabbed the 2 girls as he descended beside Greenie. As a Type 4 mutant beast, Greenie had a strong regenerative physique. Its wound had already closed and was starting to repair at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even its bleeding had stopped. What a strong recovery rate. However, it would still require at least a day to fully heal. Yu Zhong felt slightly better when he saw Greenie healing. However, he knew it was impossible for it to recover that fast. With a shattered spine, such an injury was still serious to a Type 4 mutant beast. It would take at least a day to recover properly. There was no need to mention combat. Even moving would cause it tremendous pain. Yu Zhong came up to Greenie's head and patted it with an apologetic smile. "Sorry, I brought this upon you." Greenie was his first tamed beast and had followed him throughout countless battles. He had come to view Greenie as his trusted mount. Now that it was heavily injured, he could not help but feel heartache as well. Greenie rubbed its head against Yu Zhong like a little kid, letting out low moans as though complaining about the pain. Yu Zhong then pulled out the Type 5 nucleus he obtained from the Icy Hell, placing it in front of Greenie. The beast immediately opened its eyes and beak in joy, gobbling up the precious nourishment. The moment it entered Greenie's body, its eyes closed and it fell into a deep sleep. The Type 5 nucleus was providing it with powerful, evolving nourishments. The best way to absorb and digest such energy was to sleep. Yu Zhong activated his summoned tamed beast ability again as a huge hole appeared. This time, Turtle appeared, crawling out quickly. The last time Yu Zhong tamed Turtle, it had been at a peak Type 2 stage. Now, after some time, it had evolved into a Type 3 mutant beast as well. Of the 4 mutant beasts he had tamed, only Turtle had the strength to move Greenie. "Take it, let's go." With a thought, Turtle grabbed Greenie and placed it on its back as it swiftly climbed deeper into the forest. Yu Zhong and the rest also followed. Soon after, a number of pterosaurs appeared in the air as their riders leaped down. As they observed the environment, the leader, Ku Yufu, declared, "They're that way. Give chase." Chapter 781, Flee. Chapter 781, Flee. A number of Dino people chased, led by Ku Yufu, hot on Yu Zhong's tail. One of them was running when suddenly there was a loud boom as a landmine buried in the ground got triggered and exploded. The resulting explosion instantly consumed the Dino person. At the same time, a few remote-controlled explosives that were hidden nearby went off, blasting the entire area, quickly enveloping all of the Dino riders. Yu Zhong was in his second-order stealth, hidden among the trees, watching the scene unfold quietly. Before the dust even settled, a number of the Dino riders ran out of the dust cloud. Other than the one who got decimated by the landmine, the rest only suffered minor injuries. While these Dino riders were not as strong as Type 3 mutant beasts, their body makeup was still tenacious. Even a heavy caliber bullet might not be able to penetrate their skin. Shit, seems like normal bullets can't do anything to them. I need something stronger. Yu Zhong eyed the seemingly unharmed Dino riders with an ugly expression. Currently, the human race back on Earth only used rifles. Against zombies, they were effective. However, against the flesh-eaters and now these Dino riders, the rifles were far from enough. They had to rely on something else. Otherwise, they would be overrun and killed. Yu Zhong threw all thoughts to the back of his head and brought out his electromagnetic gun to fire a single shot at Ku Yufu. As a Type 4 Dino-General, the moment Yu Zhong emitted his killing intent, Ku Yufu reacted and managed to evade the shot. Over there, after dodging that dangerous shot, Ku Yufu turned around and located Yu Zhong. Yu Zhong fired out a few more shots before tapping his foot and leaping up a tree, quickly making his escape through the trees. The 3 electromagnetic beams penetrated 3 Dino Riders in their heads, blasting them apart. His strength had already reached the intermediate Type 4 level. Even without an arm, he could casually kill Type 3 Dino people. Chase! Ku Yufu's eyes flashed with a vicious glint, charging after Yu Zhong in a swift manner. The other 7 Dino Riders also followed suit. After Ku Misaki destroyed Yu Zhong's right arm, adding on to the huge expenditure of spirit and stamina in Temeran prison, Yu Zhong was feeling weak right now. If he were to take on Ku Yufu, he would definitely be killed in a single exchange. Hence, he could only flee, making his way deeper into the forest. The distance between the two drew closer, and soon, the forest was left far behind. A grassy plain appeared in front of them. Bye. I'm done toying with you. Yu Zhong had purposely drawn them away from Turtle and the rest. He quickly leaped up a tree and lunged off forcefully, his dark wind wings opening and sending him soaring into the skies. Kusarichi, seal down the airspace. Ku Yufu eyed Yu Zhong in the sky, his eyes flashing with a chill as he barked. One of the riders stepped forward. His back had wings like a pterosaur, even his head looking 70% similar to one. He eyed Yu Zhong and let out a strange, shrill scream. A powerful shockwave traveled upwards, sweeping past Yu Zhong. Under that force, the dark wind wings suddenly dimmed, as though they had lost the connection to Yu Zhong, causing his body to plunge down quickly. Fuck, what was that? Facing such a sudden anomaly, Yu Zhong was shocked as well. The sealing of airspace seemed to be a certain skill of some races of the Dino people. Some of them had the ability to increase their speed explosively, others the ability to command the wind. Some had tough skins. This particular Dino person, whose progenitor must have been the pterosaurs, could unleash some shockwave to knock out all airborne objects, living or otherwise. The moment one was struck by it, even a Type 6 Overlord-class mutant beast would plunge. Even so, Yu Zhong did not panic. He quickly pulled out his electromagnetic gun, aiming at Kusarichi before firing once. Ku Yufu struck out with his lance, blocking the beam. Following a loud bang, Ku Yufu was sent flying a few meters back, slamming into a tree. However, the electromagnetic beam was stopped by him. Damn freak! It was the first time Yu Zhong saw someone forcefully taking his electromagnetic gun head-on with a melee weapon. It seemed that only these Type 4 monsters could do so without worry about their bodies. Seems like my sneak attack on the Type 5 Sitolius was a lucky one. If he had not been distracted by the snake woman, I think even if it hit him, he would have been fine. Thinking back to how he managed to kill Sitolius, he could not help but celebrate that his luck had been good. Yu Zhong swiftly adjusted his aim and continued to fire at the group of Dino people. They hurried to retreat, dodging behind cover. As Yu Zhong was nearing the ground, he quickly channeled his gravity manipulation, lessening his weight to 1/5 of its original. When he landed, the rebound was much lesser, and he made use of the opportunity to escape. Chase! Ku Yufu only needed a rest for merely 5 seconds, and his erratic blood flow had stabilized. With a tap of its foot, he transformed into a shooting star towards Yu Zhong. Out here on the plains, Yu Zhong activated his shadow steps and pushed his dark Do Chi, his speed increasing to its maximum. However, the distance between him and Ku Yufu continued to shrink. His stamina and spirit was being consumed at a terrifying rate, yet he did not dare slack off. This Ku Yufu was definitely a Type 4 expert that was even stronger than Uribi Taichi. Even if Yu Zhong was at his peak, it was difficult to say who could win. As long as Yu Zhong became careless now, he would definitely be killed. Both of them continued to run at a speed of Mach 1. 5. soon passing through the huge plains. At the edge of the vast plains, there were plenty of cliffs below them. It was a huge, boundless sea. The moment he charged out of the plains, he leaped down towards the sea without hesitating. The moment he plunged into the water, Ku Yufu already appeared at the edge of the cliff. Ku Yufu stood there, not intending to jump down. Instead, he laughed coldly and roared out, "Sea of mutant beasts, what way to seek death? Human, if you surrender now and become my slave, I can still spare you. Otherwise, you'll surely die a horrid death." The loud roar resounded throughout the entire area. All of a sudden, the waves broke apart as a huge tentacle swung out from beneath the surface of the sea, slamming towards Ku Yufu. The tentacle had appeared without warning, and its speed was insanely fast. Even with Ku Yufu's heightened sense of danger, he was struck violently by the tentacle. His entire body shot through the air, spitting out blood. The moment he landed, he retreated explosively beyond 1,000 meters. As he looked up, his countenance was pale and filled with dread. The blue waves continued to churn as dozens of small creatures with wings and dinosaur heads flew up onto the cliff, landing near where Ku Yufu had spat out his blood and some inner organs. They began devouring it without any care. When they were done, they swiftly re-entered the sea. Ku Yufu saw this and was reminded of his clan memoirs, retreating a few steps unconsciously, not daring to go near the sea at all. As for Yuzhong, he had quickly put on a sea mask and started swimming deeper. He had just descended about a dozen meters when a sudden tingling came down his spine and his scalp turned numb. In this dark waters, where nothing could be seen, it felt like there were countless monsters waiting to rip him apart. His entire body froze. Right at this time, a bunch of creatures the size of a palm, as dense as a colony of ants, came swimming over. They had wings, sharp teeth, and were obviously fish, but had dinosaur heads. He felt a sense of danger the moment he saw them, and adjusted his direction, swimming away frantically. The winged fish continued to swim towards him. As he fled, another dozen Type 2 mutant sharks seemed to have discovered Yuzhong, and they adjusted their positions to swim towards him. In the sea, Yuzhong's speed could not compare to when he was on land. The dozens of mutant sharks caught up to him easily. Left with no choice, Yuzhong channeled his summon tamed beast technique, calling Type 2 Sharky over. He waved his sword and sliced one of the Type 2 mutant sharks before grabbing on a Sharky as they fled. The creepy winged fishes came up to the Type 2 mutant shark and pounced on it. The waters churned for 2 seconds, and when they left, a bunch of bones sank towards the bed of the sea. If it were not for the fact that he was on the Type 7 Sea Snake Emperor's body, they would have all torn him into pieces. He did not dare to move. After summoning the subordinates, the Type 7 Sea Snake Emperor continued to swim out, this time followed by its underlings. Yuzhong saw this and cried bitterly in his heart. He was getting further and further away from land. It would be extremely difficult for him to return. After an entire day, the Horde seemed to have reached a different territory. Following a huge wave, a Type 7 Ichthyosaurus appeared from beneath the sea, not any less eye-catching than the Sea Snake Emperor. Behind it, there were countless other Type 5 and Type 6 mutant beasts. The moment the Type 7 Sea Snake Emperor caught sight of the Type 7 Ichthyosaurus, its eyes turned crimson red and it quickly charged at it. The Type 7 Ichthyosaurus also swam over with an imposing aura. Both parties clashed, and the Type 7 Ichthyosaurus bit down viciously on the body of the Type 7 Sea Snake Emperor, drawing blood as its sharp teeth punctured the hard scales. Precious blood flowed out. The Type 7 Sea Snake Emperor also bit down on the Type 7 Ichthyosaurus, tearing into its body and drawing blood. Equals. The two mighty beasts engaged in the most basic of brawls, biting and clashing against each other, struggling in the sea. Yu Zhong was easily flung off, thrown toward a few hundred meters, his body once again jolted, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. There was no way he could do anything in this battle of such scale. The two Type 7 mutant beasts were truly ferocious, causing waves to ripple out, the highest over hundreds of meters tall. Yu Zhong had just come up to the surface and was faced with one such wave, sending a few hundred meters away again. That's the blood of the Type 7 mutant beasts. One blood-red wave swept towards Yu Zhong, and his eyes brightened. He opened his mouth to take in as much seawater as he could. The blood and seawater entered his body, turning into a warm energy that spread throughout his limbs, revitalizing his cells and pushing the broken shoulders as well as his other injuries to recover. Such blood was extremely nourishing to humans. The stronger the mutant beast, the more benefits the blood and essence brought. Thus, the blood of this Type 7 mutant beast was a precious gift to Yu Zhong. The warmth flowed throughout his body, ending up in his sea of knowledge, covering his regeneration rune, causing a few more engravings to appear. Congratulations! Having absorbed the blood of a Type 7 mutant beast, your regeneration skill has gained +1 enhancement. Yu Zhong immediately felt overjoyed. The regeneration skill was incredibly useful, aiding him in escaping the clutches of death on several occasions. Now that it was enhanced, he could not be happier. At this moment, a water cannon shot from afar, slamming into him, causing him to soar into the sky and cough out blood once again. Yu Zhong looked towards the source and noticed a Type 5 ichthyosaurus and a Type 5 copperhammer shrimp engaged in a ferocious clash. The water cannon had been the innate ability of the copperhammer shrimp, and Yu Zhong had been unlucky to be in the way. Water cannons, ice shards, ice blades, water blades, thunder strikes, bone spikes, all sorts of abilities were being channeled and utilized by the Type 5 and Type 6 mutant beasts as they clashed with their enemies. Inside this large sea, there would be a new corpse floating to the surface at every second. All of these bodies casualties from the exchanges between the Type 5 and Type 6 mutant beasts. Among those bodies, there would be a few Type 3 and Type 4 mutant beasts which had been caught in the crossfire. Yu Zhong immediately activated his second-order stealth, moving carefully through the sea, watching out for the clashes. None of the beasts actually paid any attention to him due to the stealth. That's a Type 4 mutant beast. Time to risk it. Yu Zhong suddenly saw a Type 4 sea snake corpse floating. His eyes brightened, and he gritted his teeth to swim over. He arrived quickly and burrowed into its head, retrieving its brain matter, blood, and nucleus. Another one. This time I've struck it rich. The moment he came out of the Type 4 sea snake, he saw another corpse floating nearby. He could not control his excitement and immediately swam over, retrieving all that he could. While the main characters of this territorial war were the two Type 7 behemoths and the other Type 6 and Type 5 monsters, there were numerous Type 4 and Type 3 mutant beasts around as well. In this place, the Type 4 mutant beasts were the most plentiful. It would be rare to catch sight of one on Earth, but here, they were common everywhere. Yu Zhong got himself busy, digging through the carcasses of the various Type 4 mutant beasts and kept the precious loot into his storage ring. There were plenty of Type 3 mutant beast corpses as well. However, he could not be bothered with those. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.